those credits will be reduced from the academic bank of credit. So it's just a way where people earn credit and use this credit to get a degree, so that gets reduced, and then they subsequently keep earning more and more credits to get more and more degrees. So the academic bank of credits is something which is extremely important for a successful implementation of this national credit framework. Details about the NCRF and also the ABC will be presented today. This workshop is intended to basically create first an awareness about this, awareness about the competence skills, and then how do we arrive at a common platform where we go ahead and implement this and see that we bring in the real multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary sort of education, and the kids are encouraged to do this, right? Today, we have I do see within IIT people who perform very well. They are very good artists, they are very good painters, but they cannot pursue their passion just because, there is a limitation that if you do this painting, it doesn't count to a computer science degree. So I think that is something that we need to bridge here. So everything, the kids should be allowed to pursue their passion. And at the same time, they need to get a credit for all the work they are doing. And I think this type of holistic view of competence is something this national credit framework aspires to. I thank all of you for accepting our invitation and be here this morning. I'm sure this day will be a very fruitful day, and this will be I hope this turns out to be a big turning point in the history of education in India. India as a country, we have so much diversity, and what we enjoy is the unity in this diversity. I'm sure this national credit framework will capture the diversity in our education and give a unified framework for us to address competence levels among our kids. Thank you very much, and I wish this program a great success and also a very hearty welcome back to IIT Madras campus. We are opening up after a couple of years of this COVID tragedy, and now we are seeing a very fresh campus. I hope you enjoy your stay here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Kamakoti, for sharing with us that insight on how different backgrounds contribute to fields which I think inherently we have been assuming are separate, but actually are quite unified. So we will now move to the main aspect of this event, which is the presentation on the National Credit Framework. There is a team here for the discussing this entire set activity. But the main presentation will be made by Dr. Neena Pahuja, Executive Member, NCVET. I now invite Madam to please make the presentation. I request the dignitaries on the stage to please join on the audience.
Can somebody put the presentation?
I also wish to announce that Dr. N.S. Kalsi, Chairperson of NCVET, has also joined us online. He has put in a lot of effort to get this program to the shape that we see it today.
Namaskar, everyone.
I could just move the chairs. A very good morning, everyone. Just start in a minute after it puts the chairs back. We had wonderful thoughts from Professor Kamakoti, Professor Pratap here, JS from MSG, Ms. Suparna ji, friends from AICT, from UGC, CBSC. I think some people have come here. Friends from academic background and others. Today is the 5th workshop that we're trying to do on NCRF. We've had the first workshop in Delhi, followed by one in Bhubaneswar. We had the third one in Guwahati, followed by yesterday we had one in Mumbai, and today we have in Chennai. I have come to this campus a couple of times. This is possibly my 5th or 6th visit to IIT Madras campus. And every time I come here, I find this campus looking even more beautiful and more green. I think that's one thing all of you must have noticed, the beautiful green part of this campus. But I think the most beautiful part of Chennai is, I call it a city of art and culture. I think most of you will agree with me that I think some people like me at least relate Chennai to the art and culture of India. And of course, not to forget the technology. We're sitting in Indian Institute of Technology. We can't forget technology. And technology doesn't mean IT today. Technology means technology. In fact, it was so wonderful to hear that the first 3D printed house was done in IIT Chennai. So there are so many things that one hears about IIT Chennai. So all of you, welcome to this beautiful campus where technology breeds, of course. And we heard of a lot of new things that are coming in. In the first presentation which happened in Delhi, we had our Minister of Education who actually addressed us. And he spoke about the gross enrollment ratio. Even Professor Kamakoti talked about it. That's sitting actually on 27% today for higher education. And one of the targets he actually gave us was, can you make it 50% by the end of 10 years from today? Can we all work on, all the educationists here, all the learners here, all the students here, working to, can we all work together to make that ratio coming to 50% at least? Not a big target, but can we all work on the target? But let's look at what education policy is actually talking about. This is one of the most transformative policy which has actually been launched. If you try look at the education policy of different countries, you'll find that I think our India education policy is one of the most transformative one. The only one really which is talking about embedding skilling, starting from school, going on to all levels of education, higher education also. I think this is the only one which possibly talks about skilling and vocational skilling and continued skilling or education, which is coming at all levels. It actually talks about even removing distinction between general and vocational education. There are a large number of institutes that actually have started entrepreneurial courses, startups, they've actually embedded concepts of startups, they've embedded as part of higher education. We're basically trying to prepare our students for the future, which is what this education policy also talks about. Professor just spoke about multidisciplinary and holistic education. We have to prepare our children for the holistic education. We don't want them to be only studying a particular discipline, but we are trying to prepare them for different areas. When I was in Bhubaneswar just last week, we realized that in IIT, in the UG courses, they were even offering Odissi dance as one of the electives where children could actually get credits for that particular course. When I was in IIT Delhi, I graduated from IIT Delhi. I don't know, some people may have heard of something called spick making. It started during, my IIT time at that time, and it's still, it's becoming big and big and bigger, actually. And that started because we realized that there are a large number of students who were actually interested in, different kind of arts of India, I would say, not really music only, but different arts. We didn't have a concept of giving credits to those students who had that. I had some friends who were actually, used to play violin and others. But then there was no concept of giving credits. But today's education policy, I think a large number of IITs I see, they're trying to even give credits for learning those different things, which I think are required. But something more, I said multidisciplinarity. What we realize is there are a large number of students who actually join mechanical engineering, but pass out with a specialization in computer science. So why? Because there is so much of technology, there's so much of electronics in every auto, every car that's there in the market today. So multidisciplinarity is a very, very important part which needs to come. And our education policy actually talks about it. It was launched 2 years back and it really talks about it. One of the major points. It also talks about flexible curricular structures. A student has or should have a choice to choose what he or she wants to be, which is what the flexible curricular structure is. Something more that I think show about what we learned in different IITs was that we realized that places like IIT Delhi, where we went first, they had around 50% courses which were for the course UGC course. If somebody was doing a UGC in a BTech course in any discipline, then 50% of were the core courses, but 50% could be other courses, which the student could take based on his or her interest. They could take in economics, they could take in history, they could take in management, or other courses. And similarly, what we realized was that in the other, at least in IITs, they already are following a concept of flexible curricular structure, but our education policy also talks about it. So how can we make sure all these concepts which are there, some, technology institutes we're seeing that they're already following it, are further taken to a next level. A comprehensive, credit-based academic and skill qualification framework. We've seen, a lot of cases, a lot of institutes are already following a credit concept and they give credits for all the courses. But can we also have credits for skilling? As part of NCVT, we've started this. So we are going to have 4 courses of different kind. We're going to have credits assigned to those courses. So if the child is doing a course on blockchain, or if child is doing a course on making jewelry, or somebody is trying to do a course on creating, say, aprons, or making leather goods. When I was coming to IIT Madras campus, I saw a lot of institutions, I think, who are working on the leather goods here. So if somebody is actually trying to do work on the leather goods, can we give credits for those courses, those kind of skilling courses also, which can be embedded? And of course, when the child graduates, the child gets those credits. And of course, all these credits need to go to something called academic bank of credits that we just heard of. There also should be a concept of prior learning. I think that's what is our education policy talking about. We've actually come across a lot of people say in Jammu, we heard of, there's something called Namda craft in Jammu. This is supposed to be a very beautiful, intricate kadhai, which is done in Jammu, which actually is almost getting instinct. But there are some people who know it. Can we recognize those people who know that? If we drive down here from here to Pondicherry, on the way we see actually beautiful, beautiful sculptures which have been done by people. Can we recognize those artisans who've done those beautiful, art pieces, rather than not recognizing them? So idea is to be able to recognize anything, any learning that anybody's had, not necessarily the academic learning, but other learnings also. If I know how to bake a cake, for example, can that also be recognized? If I know how to make some special kind of sweaters or special kind of aprons or lehenga, for example, for India, or special South Indian dress or sari, can that be recognized? So the idea is to be able to recognize all kind of skills, whether it's music, dance, any kind of gems jewelry, leather making, purse making, or others, can we recognize different kind of skills? Because today, when you get on to your job, it's not only about education that you need. It's the other skills. You need soft skills, but you need other skills also to be able to use it. Let's just take an example of a child who's doing computer science. So I don't know how many people have done computer science graduation here, but you have courses on algorithms. But can we use those algorithms for making sure our supply chains that we have are optimized? Can we make sure that we are able to find the best possible solution for loading a ship that's done? Could be part of Gati Shakti tomorrow. So all that, idea is to be able to get skills which are not only necessarily the base education, but I think getting into how it will be used in industry also. Internationalization of education, I think very, very important thing. We already have our, some BTech programs which are recognized globally, of course. But I think most of you may know that, when our MBBS child goes out of the country to a lot of other countries, they have to do extra courses. Can we actually come up with some kind of international equivalence for most of the courses that we do? For most of even the trainings that we do is what it's talking about. So national education policy is actually focusing on all these major points and a lot more, of course, but talks about lifelong learning. I have done my PhD, but I think I need to be a learner. This is what it teaches me. And it tells all of us that, you need to prepare for the next part of learning. I think is education policy talking about, because what you're learning today is not going to be there tomorrow. So it's very, very important that you learn to learn, actually. Now, let's talk about the credit framework. How is the credit framework trying to achieve some of the objectives that we just talked about? Some of those, I spoke only some of the objectives. I'm sure there are others also of the NEP 2020. Creditization of all learning. So I think one of the most important point which comes as part of credit framework is creditization of all learning. So whether it's dance, music, Odissi dance, or Kathak, or playing violin, or playing any instrument, or playing a game, all kind of learning, or I'm doing a course on blockchain or artificial intelligence, or even if I have an IIT or I have an IIM who's doing an outreach program on, say, artificial intelligence for HR or artificial intelligence for healthcare, all this kind of learning needs to be creditized. It certainly talks about removing distinction between general and vocational education. That's one thing which the credit framework talks about. In fact, some institutes, who are AICTE accredited, they have started taking courses from skilling as the 8th semester course. So in 8th semester, typically in a BTech, students have to do a project. So they're trying to do a project which could be, say, AI or blockchain, which otherwise is not available. They don't have even faculty for those courses available within their institute. And they're trying to do the skilling courses which are available using, our skilling platform, and having the children to do those courses. So what is the advantage? Children, when they graduate out, they are ready for industry. That's the main advantage of actually this credit framework that we're trying to talk about. Multidisciplinarity and holistic education. I think that's one thing which is really it's talking about. A child has to have the soft skills. It needs to have employability skills. It needs to have digital skills. It needs to have entrepreneurial skills. Whenever the child passes out. I've been in industry for 30 plus years. And one of the things that I realize, our students lack when they graduate from institutes, even the best of the institutes, is the soft skills. They have the knowledge, they have the best of the technology knowledge, but how to convert that best of the technology knowledge to something which works in industry, how to handle people, the leadership skills, and others is what at times they lack. So can we make sure that our students also get that as part of the education, but also creditize that? And some of the ITs is what I realize after, it's the 5th place that we are in, are already actually running some of these courses and trying to do that. We spoke about accumulation, assignment accumulation and storage for these credits that we have and redemption of these courses. And I'm going to talk a little more about it, maybe in more detail in the coming slides. So we are saying that we'll have, as part of National Credit Framework, and the complete document is also available on Ministry of Education website. It talks about comprehensive credit-based academic and skill qualification framework is what it talks about. It also says you may want to do a management course or a humanities course as part of your BTech in computer science or electricals. Professor Kamakoti gave a wonderful example that he said design of a PC board is done beautifully by somebody who's an artist. Actually, I really agree with him on what he said, because I think PC design is a very difficult task. Although we have CAD/CAM products now available, which computerized products which actually do a PC design. But if there was an artist also who comes in, the design would be much better actually. And this is how we'll be possibly able to transform India with the high quality education and, prepares our students which are ready now for industry and ready for what is required. Another beautiful thing which Credit Framework really talks about is the curricular structure, a flexible curricular structure. We've seen in IIT Delhi, we've seen in IIT Bhubaneswar, also Bombay, and I think we'll hear about today here also. They have a concept of flexible structures already. So if there is a student who wants to do, like I gave an example of, wants to do mechanical engineering, but also wants to learn about electronics and come up with, be ready for EVs, of EV revolution that's coming in India, that can happen. If a child wants to do computer science with mechanicals, the child can do it. So all these flexibilities are already there today in some of the IITs. But we need to bring in these kind of flexibilities on all other institutes, and Credit Framework allows you to do it. One thing which is wonderfully captured in Credit Framework is multiple entry, multiple exit. So we can have a case of a student who actually joins an engineering course or joins a course, and then he realizes that he doesn't want to do that course because he's not like that course. Maybe he can move to another college. That's one possibility. The second could be that for reasons which are financial or any other reason, he takes up that course, but then he decides that he wants to come back to that course after a year or 2 years of job. The Credit Framework allows the student to do it. So there's multiple entry, multiple exit, which is there. I have seen cases where some students have joined IITs, in fact, realize that IIT is not made for them, or they are not made for IITs either way. And they've actually moved out and done other courses like BA History and others. And some of them have actually been very, very successful in their career also. But earlier, they had to do that course from the beginning. If they're done 1 year of BTech, say, and they go back to a BA, they had to completely redo that 1 year. Now the credits actually can be moved from one university to another university, which is the most beautiful part of the Credit Framework that comes in. So it provides education acceleration, as we mentioned. Another good part is, I think COVID has taught us, is online education has to come in. Although a lot of institutes actually were doing all online education earlier also. For example, NPTEL is one thing which is done from IIT Madras and is very, very successful. But I think COVID taught a lot of us that online education is a requirement which needs to go in. Although in skilling, everything cannot be online. But with techniques like augmented intelligence coming in, gamification coming in, simulators coming in, online is becoming the new norm of education also in some cases. So what we are saying is that the NCRF also talks about is that you can have blended education. But it talks about what is the kind of blend that can have, because not everything can be done online, not everything should be done offline. So what is the combination of the blend that is there? For example, we have a sector skill council which works in domestic help, and childcare help. Now, childcare help cannot be all online. It needs to be maybe something which needs to be offline, right? There is a possibility that I have a course on blockchain or I have a course on artificial intelligence, which can be totally online. But some courses which cannot be completely online. I may have courses of welding, for example. There are a lot of courses I see of welding where welding simulators are used. Most of us have actually done driving simulators. We've done testing on driving simulators. But welding simulators, paint simulators are already there in the market, which people are using because it saves paint, it saves the welding material actually, and saves a lot of money also. Not only that it can be online, but there is a possibility that 90% of those courses is actually done online, but 10% is still done offline. We leave it to the typical skill, the person who's designing the skill to decide what should be the blend that should be used for online and offline. But NCRF talks about even giving credits for the online course that could be there. Multilingual. I think it's very, very important part. A child learns best in his matribhasha, as we say. So it's very important to have that. And I think NCRF really talks about it, to have different different languages, Indian languages, regional languages, as part of the learning, which needs to be there. It talks about, like I said, use of technology, but how can we use the technology for helping Divyangs? A lot of people are already doing a lot of work in this area, but technology can be used for visually impaired people or others also. How can we use that is what NCRF also talks about. Internationalization of the education. We already hear of a lot of cases where students in India go out, or students from outside the countries, they come to India for continuing their education. How can the education or the credits of what they've already done be creditized is what it talks about. So if I summarize, there are three things that we are really talking about. We're talking about academics, we're talking about skilling, but we're also talking about experiential learning. I think that's what is combining and giving a credit framework. So let's just look at this beautiful diagram, which actually depicts what we are really talking about. So credit framework actually works on three different dimensions. One is, of course, the academic axis, which starts from preschool and goes on to the level of PhD. It also works on the skill axis, and it also works on experiential learning. So anybody who's worked on a particular area and has experience of handling that particular thing, it gives the credit for that also, is what it's saying. So if I look at this diagram, in the academic axis, from pre-nursery to 5th, we're giving level 1. From 6th to 8th is level 2. So anybody who actually finishes at level 8th, it's level 2. 9th, 10th takes me to level 3, and we'll see how we can have multiple entry, multiple exit also in different examples that we have. And 11th, 12th takes you to level 4. And after that, we have going to UG 1 year, going on to PhD. But if you realize this, every year of learning after 8th standard gives you an increase in level of 0.5. So that's a beautiful thumb rule which is there. After 8th level, every year of learning, and we'll talk about what is every year of learning just now, is equivalent to 0.5 increase in the level, which goes on till level of PhD. So that's a basic, simple level, that's concept that's used in this particular credit framework. On the experiential level, we may have people who are trained, proficient, experts, and master. And we can have people who can decide what that is. And we'll talk a little more in details as on the experience part also in the coming slides. So summary of the previous slide. And if you have any questions, the previous slide, I'll be happy to take those questions also, even in the middle. So primary and middle school. Primary takes you to level 1. The moment the child finishes level Class 8, it takes you to level 2. And after that, you have a 0.5 increase, like I mentioned, for 1 year of learning, which is equivalent to 1,200 hours approximately of learning. So we're defining every year of learning as 1,200 hours of learning. But just for information, this is not 1,200 hours of classroom. This is 1,200 hours of learning, which means this may include demonstrations. It may have my self-study also and others also. So it's 1,200 hours of learning, which takes you after level 8, after class 8, it's level 0.5, 0.5 level increase, which comes after class 8 for every thing. So undergraduate level, a BTech could be 4.5 first year, second year could be 5, 5.5, and 6. And postgraduate could be similarly 6, 6.5, and 7, and PhD taking you to level 8. Now, one very nice thing which we noticed, and I think maybe I was not there in presentation of all the IITs, but what we saw in IIT Bombay yesterday was that they even have a case where if a child wants to finish after the three years of BTech, they're giving the child BSc engineering, so they possibly pass this via their board, and they're allowing that to happen also. So undergraduate course, although a child may take admission for a 4 years course, BTech course, but the child can actually do a 3 years and get a degree of BSc engineering. So real flexibility is what they're already doing. But what we need to do is to do this for most of the institutes. So the flexibility needs to come in more and more. So again, notional hours is 1,200 hours. It could be, and what we are also saying is 1,200 hours of learning per year is equivalent to 40 credits. However, it may be 40 for some, it may be 40 plus 40 to 44 is what we are saying. Some institutes actually have a little difference. They do it a little differently, but this is a typical recommendation that we're going. But all autonomous institutes, all universities, all regulators can actually finalize based on what they want to do. And there could be some variation based on what they do. So 1 credit is equal to almost 30 hours of learning, is what we are trying to say here. And this is extremely important point. IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi was again the similar one. We had 30 hours. Bhubaneswar also was similar, I think. What we realized in Bombay yesterday was that there was a slight difference. They were actually saying approximately 60 hours equal to 1 credit. So every institute can have differently, but I think the concept of 1,200 hours a year is same everywhere across. But the number of credits they use, IIT Bombay uses for a graduate to become a graduate is a little more. However, I think this is what is the recommendation coming out from this, which I think most of the institutes, what we realize, are following or similar things that everybody is doing. Something more which was not there earlier. I may be doing a UG course. I may be doing BTech in computer science. But before I pass out, I want to be a specialist in artificial intelligence, or I want to be a specialist in blockchain, because it's going to give me wonderful jobs. So can I do a certificate course in that parallelly? Absolutely, yes. You could do an online course with that. So it allows you to do another course of your choice if you want to do with 1 degree that you're trying to do. So you can get the extra credits based on the courses that you're trying to do here. So let's see, what are we talking about? We're saying that all kinds of learning are going to be creditized, which is what is the credit framework talking about. Whether it's classroom teaching, lab, classwork, assignments, or any vocational training, or skilling, or project work, or even field visits, or online training that we have, internship of all kind, OJTs of all kind, any online exams, but something more. Sports and games are also going to be creditized, which was not happening earlier. So that's another wonderful thought that's come in as part of the credit framework. All sports and games, physical activities, arts, yoga, handicraft, backlist days, all these will also be creditized. In fact, we saw yoga is one of the essential course, I think, in one of the IITs. Now, I don't remember which one, but one of the IITs also is doing a essential course on yoga, that everybody, all students have to go through. More social work. When I was a student in IT way back, I graduated in 81, but, so we were asked to do something called NSS or NCC. So that was essential for us. We had to all take that particular course. But we were not getting credits for those. Those were essential subjects that we had to do, and we had to spend that much time for social work or for NCC. But we were not getting credits. As today, as per the, some of the IITs are already actually giving credits for social work and, or community work or even NCC. And they're getting credits, and they're supposed to be doing those kind of courses. And there's a bouquet of such courses which are available, which all the students have to do. When Minister of Education actually gave us the first day talk, he actually told the IIT Delhi people that, look, there are a large number of taxi stands who are just outside IIT. Can we work on upliftment of those drivers of those taxi stands? And can the work that your children do, can that also be creditized? Why not? Because you're working on social upliftment of people. You may get maybe 1 credit or a half a credit, I don't know. That I think the regulator or the IIT or the institute needs to decide. But every work that you try and do, helping people, can that be creditized? I think that's the message that he was trying to give us. However, all this is going to be decided by the institute that you're working in, the regulator that is there. They will decide how many credits, what all can be creditized, and how much the grades will be there. So just to summarize, every learning hour and types of learning will be creditized. No differentiation in credits assigned in different areas of learning, whether it's art and science, extracurricular activities, vocational or academic streams. The learning should be creditized subject to. So this is extremely important. It's not that I just do a course and I get credits for it. But learning shall be creditized based on assessment that needs to be carried out for that particular course. So every course will have assessment, whether it's a vocational course or a blockchain course or an AI course or an outreach program of IIT. Everything needs to be assessed, and then only you will get credits. A large number of IITs, for example, I think IIT Chennai also had a course on artificial intelligence during the COVID time. And I heard a large number of students attended that course, right? Now, most of those students must have got certificate for it from IIT Chennai. But can they also get credits for that outreach program that IIT Chennai had? Similarly, all IIMs today have an outreach programs. Most good institutes have an outreach program. Can those outreach program also be creditized? So if I decide to go in for education at a later stage, can I use those credits for getting my degree? Provided there was an assessment associated with those courses. And very clearly, the regulator or the autonomous institute is the one who's actually defining learning outcome. So there's a new word now I'm coming up with, learning outcomes. Every course needs to have a concept of learning outcome. So assessment has to be on learning outcomes for that particular course. So if it's a blockchain, what you should be able to do in blockchain. If it's making an apparel or it's a leather making purse making course, I should be able to make a purse. So what is the learning outcome? If it's an achar making course, I should be able to make the pickles. Or what are the steps I follow even to make the pickles? If it's a gem and jewelry, it's designing to actually the final implementation to polishing and everything. What are the learning outcomes that need to be there for that particular course that need to be assessed? But assessment is necessary, mandatory to earn the credits. There are assessment bands. So if I go back to my previous slide, we saw there were levels. So all these levels were the bands also. You can use the credits in that particular band for getting a particular degree in that particular band. So if you've done a course in that particular band, you should be able to get a degree in that band. So if I've done a course of UG level, I should be able to use it for my BTech degree. or similarly for a PG. So this concept of assessment band is also there. Accumulation of credit, I think we've talked about, but accumulation of credit is permissible if earned within the same assessment band, which is what you can use to get the degree. Relevance and weightage. So there's something more which is there. Every course can have a weightage. So what is a weightage? I think there are a couple of new terms that I'm coming up with. What is a weightage? We said level. We defined something called level. I could be at level 5. I could be doing a course at level 5. And I may be doing a course which has 3 credits assigned to it. So the weightage, the credit points it gets is 3 credits into level 5, which is 15 credit points. So there's a concept of credit point also, which has come in this, based on the level of course that you do. So you may do a course at level 2 of 4 credits or whatever, in which case you get 8 credit points. But typically in a year, if you're doing 40 credits at a UG level, say 4th year, you're getting 4 into 6, which is 240 credit points is what you'll get in the 4th year that you do a course. So this is a basic concept of a credit point that's also is there. And of course, learning, we said, can be online, offline, or a combination of it, which the author of the course, which means, and the regulator will be able to define what is the blend based on the type of course. If I'm making pickles, I better make pickles and show. I cannot actually do assessment, which can be totally online. There's a possibility I can see a YouTube actually for making pickles, but I need to be able to do that to actually do the assessment. So there could be a combination of, whether you do online or offline, and the person who's designing the course or creating the course will actually define what will be the blend. Since we talked about blended learning, the blended learning consists of, if we go through our website, it's an NCVT website, we've actually launched a blended learning guideline for vocational education, which has actually 7 components. 1, the theory, the lecture. We also have a concept of soft skills. Why did we put that? Because we realized that anybody who learns vocation, whether it's welding or auto repair or blockchain or AIs, you need to have employability skills also built in it. Even if I'm trying to do a web designing course, which is there as part of IT courses, I need to have a way to be able to deal with my client for whom I'm trying to do a web designing. So soft skills, employability skills is extremely important part, which is also there in it. Demonstrations, practical skills, tutorials, assessment, evaluation, and on-the-job trainings and apprenticeship. So the blended learning has these 7 components, at least as part of skilling. And as part of any skilling course, we expect the person will be able to define the different combination of online and offline, which is there for all these, for the assessment, the training to happen and the assessment to happen. So what is National Credit Framework? National Credit Framework is basically one single, we call it meta framework. It is a guideline. It does not really dictate any terms. It gives you a guideline which a regulator, which a university, which an autonomous institute can follow and change based on how you want to change. You can have core courses, you can have humanities courses, you can have management courses, you can define early exits, like we just spoke about. So all that comes as part of the single meta framework that is there. So a single framework which really combines or gives you how school education, higher, technical, vocational, all these educations are actually integrated. And just to summarize, enables assignment, accumulation, storage and transfer, and redemption of credits for a degree. Multidisciplinary is something it allows you. Holistic education is something it allows you. It enables multiple entry, multiple exit, we spoke about it, and allows you to do academics and vocational education together. It prepares our students who are actually doing academics only for tomorrow's industry also. And it supports different qualification framework which are there, NSQF and NHQF. So one single credit framework, and you transfer whatever the credits that are earned are transferred into something called ABC, which is Academic Bank of Credits. Of course, enabling framework, meta framework we've spoken about, and of course allows every student the flexibility. Something more, and I'll just come back to the slide a little later, but special provisions that are there, and I'll come back to my previous two slides again. So we've said it allows for every kind of informal learning to be prioritized, non-formal learning, learning through any means, including maybe even NGOs. Something more that it does is that, let's take a case of a child who's a gifted child. And we've come across, all of us have come across a lot of gifted children who are able to complete their degrees very fast. As long as a child is able to do his credits and is able to complete the credits and pass the assessment, it even enables that child to complete the credits and get the degree. So all that is part of the system also. It also enables upskilling and reskilling. For example, I'm sure there are some people here from IIT, and for the electronics PLI scheme, there's a lot of work that's happening on nanotechnology. So if there is some course that's happening on nanotechnology, there are upskilling courses which are already coming on nanotechnology. That's part of the upskilling framework that we already have. 5G, for example, I mean, we had the spectrum auction that happened a couple of months back. How do we prepare people for that 5G? So there are courses which are being run by our sector skill councils. There are courses which are being run by IITs. There are courses being run by a large number of academic institutions. Can all those be creatized, which is what it allows you? So there are three kind of things that are happening. One is, of course, a proper qualification, which can be creatized. Second is national occupation standards. So you may have one occupational standard, which one chunk, somebody has done work in that area, but there's a new thing that's come in. So that's national occupation standard on which we want to do training in that area. You may have even small micro-credential, a concept of micro-credential where, students or learners have to go, via the training. For example, if you join most of these new companies like TCS or Infosys, Wipro, or even the MNCs, all our children have to go via a training. Can all that training be creatized? Because that's required as per industry standards. So can all that training which is done as part of their joining, can also that be creatized? Then OEM courses. There are a lot of courses which are done. For example, you may have a training on SAP, which is done typically there as part of an MBA course, or any ERP, or any IT course. For example, you may have course on cloud computing. Amazon does that, Microsoft does that, they have certifications. Can all those courses, which are OEM-based courses, can all those be also creatized? Our Tech Mahindra, for example, Mahindra, Maruti, they run a large number of courses for the students who join there. Can all that learning also be creatized is what we are saying here. But there's more. Like I said, sports, Indian knowledge system, music, heritage and traditional skills, and performing arts, master craftsmen, all these also, the learnings that are happening in these also need to be creatized, which is what the system is enabling. So I just go back to this slide. This slide actually gives you, I think, what I've already spoken about. It talks about different levels which are assigned to different level of learning. So 5th year foundation takes you to level 1. 3 years of preparatory, post that, taking you to level to class 8 is taking you to level 2. And post that, if you see this, there's a 0.5 increase for every year of learning. And every year post that has approximately 40 credits, giving you a learning time, which we assuming 1200 hours of learning, But there's a credit point earned also, which is there, which is calculated, which is level into the number of credits if you look at this computation. So this is how the computations are going to be done and go to ABC. Something more that we spoke about, proficiency level. This is still slightly work in progress because you may want to design this based on what the area is. But something that we worked on is trained, you have a multiplying factor of 1. If you have proficient in that area, you have a multiplying factor of 1.33, expert is 1.67, and master is 2, which means in the previous slide that we had, if somebody has experience at particular level, you have a multiplication factor of, for example, 1.67, which gives you extra credit points if somebody has experience of, and he's an expert in that particular area. So experiential learning also taken care of as part of the credit framework. Let's go further. We have a large number of students who want to do startups. And one thing which I was really happy to hear yesterday was that in at least IIT Bombay, they started, and I'm sure there are others also which I don't know of. They have a concept of if there's a child who's extremely fast, he can finish his BTech in 3.5 years. Typically, a BTech course is for 4 years. But typically, if they can have a child finishing the BTech in 3.5 years, and the 8th semester, the child actually can work on a startup or do some courses of entrepreneurship and other courses of management skills, which actually prepares him for the industry. So all that is also very much part of the NCRF. So he gets those extra credits for the work that he does. But more, hackathons. When in my previous role, we started a Center of Excellence for IoT. And we were trying to do a large number of hackathons to actually understand how our students could come up with different ideas of how IoT can help industry and otherwise. And we got some beautiful ideas. But what we realized was that when we were trying to do hackathons, the child who works on the hackathon actually knows a lot about that area. He not only knows about the area, but he also knows how to build that particular product using that area. So can we give credits for that? So extremely important that we recognize hackathons. We also should recognize startups. And I think there are some institutes I come across who started recognizing startups, and they give even credits for work that's done by a startup. Olympiads. And of course, I did speak about RPL also. So all this is, although the universities or the academic institutions or the regulators may need to define the assessment criteria, which needs to be there as part of those hackathons or Olympiads. But all that learning which comes as part of these also can be creditized as the National Credit Framework really talks about. We've also spoken about recognition of prior learning already. I think we've given a couple of examples. I'm sure all of you have some areas where you want recognition of the prior learning that needs to be there, and we want to give them certificate and credits for example, construction worker, for example. When you go to the site, large number of construction workers or plumbers, even like that, some plumber working in your house, he knows the work, but we have not given him a certificate for the work that he knows. So can we actually assess him and give him credits for the work that he knows? Is what this is also talking about. There's something more that's happening. Defense. Our defense persons, they undergo extensive training as part of their joining and working in the defense. Till now, we were not creditizing that particular training and learning. They not only go through a training, but they also go through a formal assessment process, typically, which is done by defense. So can we also recognize that formal training and assessment done by defense, and give them credits for it, which they can use for a formal degree, which can happen, which is something, again, additionally, that's happening here. So I think Professor Kamakoti did speak about credit transfer, learner, and redemption of credits. So you can use the credits in a particular band for getting a degree. For multiple entry, multiple exit. Another concept that's there is you need to establish, of course, general equivalence, which needs to be there for every course that's there, whether it's academic or vocational. An entry level needs to be defined. And for every course, you need to define the outcomes that it needs to achieve, which needs to be assessed. And all these credits can be used for award of certificate, diploma, degree, micro-credential, etc. And of course, admission into some other course also. Some examples. So this is an example of multiple entry, multiple exit. You may have an institute where institute is offering similar courses. A simple example that I can think of is two institutes which are similar, but a child wants to move from one location to another location. Courses done are similar. He wants to do the same course in the other location. It happens within IITs, it happens in international equivalence. I'm sure it happens in a lot of NITs. It happens in a lot of other institutes also. This is certainly possible. You've done a course in a particular area, you want to go into another area. There's an academic equivalence that's done, and then the movement can happen. There's something I mentioned, academic equivalence. It's very important that both the universities where the movement is happening from and to have an academic equivalence which is defined for the courses for which the student is moving. You may also have that a student who's moving from institute one to another institute, he's done course A and B, but he is going for a course A and C in the other institute. Now, the academic equivalence needs to be again defined by the institute. So you as a university, or you as an autonomous institute needs to define what is the entry level criteria or what is the exit criteria. There's a possibility that a student needs to do an additional course if he comes in from another institute. So that's also something which it defines. So academic equivalence is something which is extremely important between general and vocational stream, which is done as part of this. But it's as a regulator, you can define it. So some more examples here. You have a first year undergraduate and first year BTech student. They're treated in par as far as number of the credits are concerned. You realize it was 4.5 level for BTech first year and 4.5 for a UG first year who's doing BA also. But in case a BTech student wants to move to BA or vice versa, there's a possibility that the child has to do some extra courses to be able to pursue that. And that can be defined by the institute. An ITI student who's a 10th year, who's done 2 years after 10th with additional language course, actually gets a 12th certificate with this particular example. So any person who was not able to pursue formal education after 10th does an ITI and completes the ITI, he or she has to do a course, a language course, which is essential, and we'll have NIOS people talking about it more. And they give a certificate or equivalent to 12th, which is what this is enabling you. I think this was something which was there earlier also, but I think it's really getting formalized. But not to forget, equivalence is possible within the same band. It also sets eligibility criteria for a student to get in. I think that's the major part that comes in, how children will be able to do it. Some more examples I have. So I just give an example of 12th student, 12th equivalent. So how do you get a 12th degree? You have a 12th grade pass, which is academic, normal academics. So I want to get a 12th degree. I do a normal academics and do a 12th from school. Or I do 10th plus 2 years of ITI, like for example, we just give an example, and a language course, which is essential to get to 12th. Or you may have 10th grade pass and the child has done 2 years of a 3 years diploma, which happens after 10th. Then also the child is able to get equivalent to 12th. And or otherwise you have a 10th grade pass, or you've done a short-term course of NCRF level 3.5 and 4 with almost 40 plus 40 credits in 3.5 and 40 in 4 level. And of course, a language course. So these are different ways a child can actually have continued education. More examples. Now let's look at the entry level qualification. Now to be able to get UG certificate or eligibility for admission to second year UG, How do you get it? One is, of course, a UG first year pass. You've done BTech or you've done BA first year and you get into second year. So that's one standard way you can get it to UG certificate or UG second year, as we say. Or you may have a 10th pass child and completed a 3 years of diploma after 10th. So what are we doing? If you look at this basic math that we're doing, it's 0.5 for every year of learning. So if you look at all these examples, actually, I go back to the base thing that I spoke about, is 0.5 for every year of learning. However, like I mentioned, there are some essential requirements. For example, language course. To be able to get the 12th certificate, you need to do a language course. So every regulator, CBSE, NIS, any state board can give a requirement that, look, you need to have basic, this many credits done, but you need to have a basic English level or Hindi level or whatever language that you need to pass out. Only then you get a 12th. So 0.5 for every year of learning, plus some basic things which may be there as part of the regulator or a state body who may define what needs to be done for a student to get a particular certificate. So I'm going to just summarize, I think, most of the points that we've already mentioned. So NCRF provides for multiple entry, multiple exit. And basically, if you look at this, a student who actually was doing proper education, but had to move to a job or to a vocational education, now can actually continue his or her education. Also, anybody who's a full-time academic student can actually do courses from vocational stream and be more industry ready based on what is industry requirement. And we spoke about how the credits can be redeemed. The guidelines are there already in UGC, AICT, NCRT, NCVT. All these guidelines are there. And all these guidelines have been actually created keeping ME option. But most of these UGC also, I think, has vocational skills now. I think we'll talk about it more, I think, when we have the persons from UGC also. You realize that as part of a course which is offered by UGC, also there are some vocational courses which can be done, and they have number of credits, percentage. Earlier it was 25. I don't know what is the final right now, but they started on with 25% of the courses which can be done from the vocational stream. So every type of education stream now, whether it's AICT or technical education or UGC or others, have embedded vocational education as part of our normal education. So I think these examples I've already mentioned. Let me talk about the second example. Now let's look at a master's program. First one we've spoken about. A second year program for a master program. Let's see what is a multiple entry, multiple exit. A 2 years program with second year devoted entirely to research for those who completed 3 years of bachelor program. So that can happen. 1 year master program for students who are completing 4 years bachelor program with honors or honors with research. So we've seen this already happening in a large number of institutes. Or you can have a 5 years integrated bachelor or master's program with an option to exit at the end of the 3rd year. We saw this actually a live case happening at IIT Bombay. So all these are features which are there as part of multiple entry, multiple exit. Let's see what is the benefit. I'm going to start from the right side. We started this saying that we want to improve our gross enrollment ratio of the students. With this option of continued education, multiple entry, multiple exit, I think one of the most wonderful benefit that the government gets is improvement in the gross enrollment of students. And of course, helps in creating India as education capital and also skill capital, which I think we are looking at it for tomorrow. Making education and vocational skill also aspirational. I think something which we saw was slightly missing was vocational skill. We need to make vocational skill as aspirational. For me, Madhubani painting is something which I love to do, right? Which I think there's so many people here know how to do it. Can that be creatized? Can we give that the due importance to somebody who does that kind of painting, or somebody who knows Kathak? Can we give the due importance to that? Can we make all these vocational skills as aspirational, give them credits for a course where it can be redeemed? And of course, we will possibly in the process create a workforce which is actually Atmanirbhar, which is required for the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Let's look at the students. I think as a student personally, and I think I'm still a learner, I think it gives me a wonderful benefit. I can pursue at any stage of my life what I want to do and get credits for it. There are stages of life when you want to do something. There was a stage I want to do a PhD, but there's a stage in my life when I want to do something else. I want to maybe serve people. If I work in an NGO, I get credits for that also. So any kind of work that you do, any kind of learning that you do is creditized. Flexibility, I think, is what it allows every student, and removing distinction between the education, the hard distinction that's there between education and the vocational streams. It allows students to even work on arts or sciences, social sciences, and allows that kind of flexibility. So I think that's a wonderful benefit the students get. Institutions, let's look at what industry is getting. Something which I heard, I've been part of industry, like I said, for 30 plus years. And one thing which I heard every time was that we're not getting industry ready crop from the colleges. So I think this is going to prepare students who are actually industry ready. So can the training which is done by TCS for 6 months after a student joins TCS be part of my 8 semester course, parts of this training? Can I do some of those trainings, say, let's say civil engineering? Can I do a training on, if it's a civil engineering course, can I actually use a 3D for house printing, which IIT Chennai did? They've been pioneer in that. And we were also happy to hear that, IIT Chennai has done this particular work on making a 3D printed house. But can that be actually a 8 semester course or a project? So that the child who comes out actually is ready for the future technologies or the future industry that's coming in. And of course, not to forget that I think the child becomes a learner for life. I think when we've introduced a concept of blended learning, what we're trying to do is actually not only allowing blended learning, but we're trying to create students, we're trying to create children who are learners for the life. I think that's what is a major thing which needs to happen. And believe me, I work in technology industry, IT industry, and I know that everything keeps changing. The languages keep changing every 2 to 3 years, actually. There was no Python some 30 years back. And I'm sure after 2 or 3 years, you will possibly not even hear about Python. Something Web 4.0 will come in or something else will come in. So since the languages, since the areas are keeping on changing, it's extremely important that we prepare students to be a learner for life, or any worker that we have, learner for life. I think that's what it's trying to do. I think that's the major institutions and industries, that's the kind of benefits they're getting. And of course, every reskilling, every micro-credential that they have also will be creatized. So these are some of the benefits that I think we get. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'd love to have any questions that you have.
Thank you, ma'am. As you are all aware that the draft, this national credit framework is in the draft stage, and we would like to have your comments, incorporation, suggestions on the email ID, which is there on the screen, comments.ncrf@gmail.com. I would request all the participants who are present here or who have joined through any online platforms to please share their valuable comments on the email ID listed here, so that we are able to make this document more holistic and bridge the gaps if there are any. Thank you. And the draft NCRF is also there available for your perusal on various websites, on NCVT website, on AICT Ministry of Education, MSD website. So you can download the document from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaurya. Yeah, any questions? Can we take some questions right now, or should we take it to maybe panel discussion? Okay, so maybe we'll take the questions during the panel discussion. Okay, yeah.
Good afternoon, all of you. I am Dr. Prabhavati, Controller of Examinations, Vinayaka Mission University Research Foundation, Salem. We have already registered ourselves in the academic bank of credits. It is a wonderful outcome that it is coming, and the idea is very good. But as implementation level, I am seeing so many problems. Why means, for example, I have told that equivalency has to be decided. So in the academic bank of credits, we have to upload our syllabus and everything in the first year. And some other universities also may be uploading. As a student, how do I know for which college my course is equivalent? How do I know? Where I have to go? For example, I have registered in a university. I have to get transferred to another university. How do I know that one? And when it will be decided, who is going to decide? And another point for me is, the academic credits can be transferred, but we are having so many programs like medical, dental, nursing, homeopathy. So what about that programs? That students can also be transferred from one college to other. So I don't know. That's
okay. So let me try and address both your questions.
Yeah.
Let me address the second question, which is much simpler.
Yeah.
So this, I think right now what we have done takes care of technical education and UGC. We've not taken care of medical education law yet. But I'm sure over a period of time, those also could be incorporated. And that's a work that needs to be done. That's the second part of it. And once we have that, I'm sure that equivalence can be created there also. But coming to the first point, I think it's a very good question that he's asked. Who will do it? See, NCRF is a meta framework, like I said. So we giving you guidelines that this can happen. However, I mentioned during my complete presentation that it is the institutions, the autonomous institutes, the universities, the regulators who really need to decide it. NCRF does not decide all these specifics. It's the regulators, and regulators are all here. Some of the regulators are sitting here. They're the ones who have the flexibility to decide what they need to do, right? So once they decide, they can always put it in the framework. For example, like I mentioned, in IITs, they have decided. I gave examples. The reason I gave examples of IITs was that in all these workshops, all the 5 workshops that we're having, all IITs have given how they are trying to do it, right? I'm sure we'll have that coming from IIT Chennai also today. But all of the 4 IITs have given example of how they are trying to bring in flexibility, how they are trying to enable students moving from one IIT to another. So they have put in rules and guidelines for all these that we've spoken about. So I think something similar needs to be done by other universities, not part of the part here, but then that needs to be done absolutely. And will be done over a period of time, I'm sure,
Yes,
which will enable this. Absolutely will be done over a period of time because that's why everybody is involved in it.
Another point of mine, madam, because after you gave this ABC notification and everything, NMC and PC also had given a circular saying that last 10 years data we have to upload in the website of Academic Bank of Credits. But I don't know what is the utilization of last year's 10 years data uploading in the website. I'm unable to understand. And there won't be any transfer because already they have left the institutions also by getting degrees. Of course, in the National Academic Depository,
can you give one advantage of it? One advantage of it, which is actually a national advantage. I'm sure most of you have heard of a concept of gig economy, which is coming in, right? That's the future which may happen, which will happen. Some people say will happen, some people say may happen. So I don't want to discuss on, will happen or may happen. But moment you put information about skill of a child to a central repository, how powerful are we as India? Okay, we know what is the skill base of India, which we don't know. We don't have a single repository today, unfortunately, which gives us a skill base of India. And we have a lot of skills, right? So if you try and put that data together, we are creating a wonderful database, believe me, of people who have that knowledge. Today, let's even look at a plumbing or a dentist or anything. I want to get somebody who knows that particular area or that job in my area, or I want to get specialists in a blockchain, or I want to get person who's worked on policy of healthcare or worked on policy, healthcare AI and how AI can be used in healthcare or dental, maybe, for example, how 3D printing is used in dental. It's 3D printing is actually now used in dental also. I don't have a database today who actually, which tells me that, who've done that. So that's the most wonderful advantage that you get. But I think NMC can tell you themselves as to why they're asking you to do it. They, I'm sure, have bigger reasons, but I'm giving you a reason which will enable all of us, from a country point of view, to have a single database of skill repository of our country. I hope that answers. Thank you.
I think it will take some more time to reach that level.
Haji.
for all.
I'm
Thank you,
sure
madam.
nothing
Thank
happens
you.
in a
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Child
It
is
takes
not
some more
born in a
time,
day.
madam.
It
Yeah,
takes 9
it
months,
takes
right?
some
So
more time.
I'm sure it'll take some time, but then, we need to start the process. And I think this is the beginning of that process, which is very
Is it
important.
necessary, madam, in the academic bank of credits after we register ourselves, all the programs which are being offered in that university should come under academic bank of credits? We have to upload all the syllabus?
Ideally, absolutely. But I
Correct,
think we'll
yeah.
talk about more about it, I think, when we talk about the panel discussion, and we can have offline discussion
Yes,
on that.
madam.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you very much.
So you had a question. Okay, we can take this questions, I think, maybe in the panel discussion. We'll have more people to we'll have more people to take the questions also. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I think we had a very detailed presentation on the National Credit Framework. As you can see, a very complex set of ideas being brought to reality. I think definitely in India, we are going through a stage of transformation. For many years, we have had a certain idea of what educational system should be, how we formally recognize education, and so on. And so that's kind of been standard for many years now. Recently, I think a lot of initiatives have been taken to understand what are the shortcomings of our existing processes, and to see if there are innovative ways to handle what the aspirations of our young people are, and what the capabilities of our nation are. So I now invite Professor Vignesh Muthuvijayan. He's a professor in the Department of Biotechnology here at IIT Madras. He's also the coordinator, one of the coordinators for the National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning, NPTEL. And he's also one of the coordinators for the recently launched BS degree in Data Science and Applications. Both of these initiatives actually have tried to really address these aspects that we have. We want a lot of flexibility in the education process, but at the same time, one very critical aspect which we have to all keep in mind as educationalists is that we also want to maintain quality. So I think these are two aspects that both have to be addressed. I think it is very important to address the fact that there's such a large population of so many talented young people who would like to learn, and so we should make it as much possible as we can do to ensure that these people get access to that education. But at the same time, the whole value of the system is the quality. So when a person goes and says that he has credits from some place, all of us should understand that this is a high quality learning process that the person has gone through. So we have a lot of experiences here to share, both from our NPTEL program and from the BS program, where we are trying to match scale and quality. And so I think that's a big challenge. And I think it would be nice to see what journey we have had and what learning is there in it. So I now invite Professor Vignesh to share his thoughts and experiences.
Slide change
ஓ அப்படியா சரி ஓகே அப்ப ஸ்லைட் நான் மெயில் பண்ணிடவா
mail
no 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 they are casting it no okay எந்த மெயில் அனுப்ப எது ஓபன் ஆயிருக்காங்க online would also be able to hear. So, yeah. Okay, so basically at IIT Madras, we have been using credit system for a very long time. So I think since the day of IIT being started, we have been adopting the credit system. So I'm sure many of the colleges and universities have also now started using credits for their courses. However, whether the definition of the credit has been well understood or whether it has been communicated, especially to the students and to the educators, I'm not fully sure about. So what we will try to do here is we will try to cover the basic concepts based on which we have built our credit system and how we have been using the credit system over the years. And as Professor Pratap, our dean, mentioned, I'll also talk about how NPTEL and our IIT Madras BS in data science are aligning ourselves so that all this national credit framework and this NEP guidelines can be met so that we can move forward as a nation. So we initially had an old credit system, which was where it was defined based on the number of contact hours a student engages with the teacher or an educator, right? So basically, if I have 3 lecture hours, then the course is considered per week, then the course is considered to be 3 credits. So this was a very simplistic approach with which it was looked at, and that gave credits based on the number of contact hours alone. However, there is always a lot of effort which a student has to put in outside of the class. So that was not captured here. And also there were tutorial hours, right? So where a student comes and solves problems under the mentorship of the TAs and instructors. In that kind of a period, you don't really need additional hours of effort outside of the class. So now these two are counted for as 1 credit. When I have 1 contact hour of lecture or 1 contact hour of tutorial, it is being treated as 1 credit in both scenarios. However, the effort required is not the same. In case of a lecture hour, I have to go back, read, try and understand, like kind of sit back and digest the material which was provided to me, right? So that takes a lot of effort and time versus a tutorial hour, which is monitored and I just solve problems. So I might not actually need to put in the time and effort outside. So how can these two have the same weightage? So that was a question which existed in the old system. And also there were practical hours were treated as 3 hours of lab session was considered to be 2 hours, 2 credits. And again, some labs require record writing and preparation before coming to the labs, while some labs, basically everything could be completed within those 3 hours. So how do you differentiate these two? So these kinds of questions led us to moving to this current credit system, which we are using right now. So the current credit system at IIT Madras defines credits based on the effort put in by the student rather than the number of contact hours. So this is a little complicated compared to what most of us are used to. I'm sure people from various colleges are used to courses being 3 or 4 credits, and that is a standard number which is used because that's the number of contact hours we have. We see the student for 3 hours, so we know for sure they are working for 3 hours. So we give credit only for those 3 hours. But we need to also understand, as soon as the student goes back home, they are expected to learn, they are expected to study, they are expected to put in time and effort to cover the content which we have taught in the class. So what we have done is we have introduced another factor, which is the effort which is required outside of the class. So this basically requires we have kind of rationalized it, and we have basically said for 1 lecture hour, the student needs to put in 2 hours outside to understand and learn the concept so that they can fully grasp what was taught in the class, right? So this is for on average. So some students might be extremely brilliant and they may not need those 2 hours, but there will be some students who are actually requiring more time and effort, so they would have to put in longer as well. So on average, a student might have to have at least 2 hours to fully understand and appreciate the content which is covered in 1 hour of lecture in a class. So this is the general guideline with which we go. And for a tutorial session, where you don't need to put in time and effort outside, either for preparation or for solving problems outside, then that is counted as 1 credit hour only, 1 credit only. So this gives a lot of flexibility, because now you have much finer quantization which you can do for each course. A course, when you have only 3 and 4, it could either be 3 credit hours or 4 credits. And what we are basically saying is, if I have to work for, let's say, 100 hours for earning 3 credits, for earning 4 credits, it will be 133 hours, right? It's 33% more time, which is not actually the case. Many a times that 1 extra credit will be a tutorial, and the student might not have put in more than 110 hours of work, but you are giving them 100 equivalents of 133 hours of work. So this kind of a problem happens when we have limited quantization. So that was one of the reasons we came up with this structure. So where we have various sessions, various categories, we have lectures, tutorials, which can be split into different things, and you can have lab sessions and outside hours. So the idea of this outside hours provides how much time and effort is required. See, for example, you can decide on what it is depending on the effort required for that course. So if a course has 3 lectures and does not have anything else, the outside hours is considered to be 6, giving it 9 credits. And so now what happens is, see, you can see that this is 9 versus the old credit system, which was used, would have been 3, which is the contact hours. In the old credit system, this would have been 4, where you have 3 lecture hours and 1 tutorial hour. But in the currently used credit system, we have 3 + 1 + 6, which is 10. So as you can see, the effort which the student puts in is actually rationally accounted for. So this gives a lot of flexibility. You can also have different structures like which were not existing in the older credit system as well, right? So this gives a lot of flexibility and actually correct accounting of the time and effort which a student puts in. So basically in IIT Madras, this is the number of hours we expect a student to put in for that course. So if a course is 9 hours, 9 credits, then we expect the student to work on it for 9 hours every week for the entire semester. So if the semester is 14 weeks long, they put in 9 hours per week for the 14 weeks in the semester. And that accounts for the 9 credits. So this is the kind of numbers we go with. So this has 2 advantages. So one is, from the student's perspective, there is no clarity, right? So when I take a course for 9 credits, I know that the institute expects me to work for 9 hours on this course. So now I will know how many hours I'm willing to put in on academic activities versus other activities, because all students have various aspirations. Although they are here to earn their degree, they are also here to learn various other life lessons, their skills, their soft skills, their managerial skills, leadership skills. All these things need to be groomed. So a student can choose to limit the time they spend on their academic activity and choose to spend a little more time on other activities. So for that, this gives them clarity on the number of hours they actually have to spend for a course. And based on that, they can actually choose. This is one aspect from the student side. From an educator's side, how does this help? So I now know that when I teach a class, this is what is expected from a student. If I am going to give them workload, it has to be proportional to the credits that I am awarding them. I can't overburden them, and I can't leave them very light that they are not earning the credits which they are actually being awarded. So now this is explicitly told, and the faculty have clarity on this as well. So this provides a very good understanding from both sides. And there is, when you are basically getting into a contract with full knowledge of what you are actually signing up for. So that is the idea with which this credit system has been established. And so let me talk about the BS program, where we have actually, it's a very experimental option which we looked at initially, and now it has become a phenomenon on its own. So I don't know how many of you are aware of this program, but if you are not, please do visit our website. You can search for the IIT Madras BS in Data Science. The website is onlinedegree.iitm.ac.in. So please do visit that website. You will see a lot of interesting information there, and you can share it to your friends, family, students, and so on, because this is one of the revolutionary programs from any IIT. So I'm sure everybody knows how a person can join for a degree in IIT, right? What do you have to do to join a BTech in IIT? JEE, right? So that's the only path. There is nothing else you can do. You have to do JEE. You have to be the top 1% of the lakhs of students who have come. So that's okay. So, but the problem is there are so many people who are talented, who are qualified, who are capable of learning from IIT, but are not given the privilege to learn from us simply because they couldn't already prove that they could crack one exam, right? So, okay, let me ask this question. So we are all educators here, right? So why do we give a person a degree? Why do you think somebody gets a BA, BSc, BCom, BTech, whatever degree, MBBS, whatever degree? Why do they earn that degree? So they have studied that subject, right? So recognition is what they get. I'm saying, why are we giving them that degree? Yeah, it's a formal education. They have spent those 4 years, studied the content, or 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, however long it might be. So they have learned that subject, right? We are not giving it because they cleared an entrance exam, right? So if that is the case, then I don't have to conduct a college, right? I just conduct JEE and I can give them a BTech degree. So all top 100 ranks get BTech computer science. Top next 100 ranks get BTech electrical engineering. No, that's not how it works. They have to come and study. So the degree is actually for what they study at IIT Madras. What we are process we use to selecting them is just a way to filter candidates, because we unfortunately cannot accommodate all the 15 lakh students who are interested in joining our institute. So this model which we have adopted aims to address this desire of students to learn from IIT Madras from a very different approach. We have something called a qualifier process. So this process, basically, we teach you content related to data science for 4 weeks, which is basically part of the first term courses. So imagine this, like a mechanical engineering student, a BTech mechanical or BE mechanical engineering, they would study what maths, physics, chemistry, computer science, and engineering drawing in the first semester, right? So let's say these 5 courses are there. What if I can say, you come and study these 5 courses with my college, and 1 month later, we will test whether you have understood what I taught you. If you have understood, continue studying with me. As long as you can keep proving that you understand and you can pass the subject, you continue. If you pass all the subjects for the mechanical engineering, I will give you the degree. Because the degree is based on you studying and passing those subjects. So why should I stop you if you can learn from me? So this is the philosophy with which this program has been established. So this because this has this option of learning at different levels and continuing through the program, and students may want to learn at different pace. They have the flexibility to do that. And there is also this option of leaving at different points based on the credits they have earned and based on the courses they have completed. So this actually has, you can get a certificate or diplomas or 2 different degrees. So there are multiple exit options which are available for the student. So they can basically get a foundation certificate in programming and data science, or a diploma in programming, or a diploma in data science, or you can earn your BSc in programming and data science, or the BS in data science and applications. So depending on the time they spend, number of courses they complete, number of credits they earn, they can actually keep building and eventually get the degree from IIT Madras. And these degrees, when somebody earns the BSc or BS from IIT Madras, they actually become alumnus of IIT Madras. They get the official degree from IIT Madras. The diplomas are also Senate recognized diplomas. This is not like some edtech company giving you a certificate. Here, there is an academic rigor where the Senate of IIT Madras, which is the highest academic body in an IIT, recognizes it and approves that they have earned the right to get a certificate from IIT Madras. So there is a lot of academic rigor and quality which is maintained. So there is a lot of hands-on experience that we give, and this helps students to get that flexibility where they can earn credits and move from one level to another and get exit options as and when needed. So this structure is very much in line with the NEP and helps the students to open their options. So this program was launched about 2 years back. So and this program has admissions 3 times a year. So there are actually 4 terms in each year, and all courses are offered in all terms. So the student can basically do courses at their pace based on what their interests are. So it's not like odd semester courses versus even semester courses. If I miss a course in even semester, I have to wait for a year to do it. No, nothing like that. You have courses offered every term, and you can kind of do it as you choose to. So that flexibility has been built into this program, and this has actually helped a lot of students join. So in 2 years, so just for some perspective, let me tell you some numbers. IIT Madras every year admits roughly 1,100 BTech students through JEE. Okay, so for over a 4-year period, we have not more than 4,500 students in the undergraduate programs at IIT Madras. In 2 years of this program being launched, we currently have more than 16,000 students in the program. So that is the value, because there is a desire to learn. People are motivated. They want to learn. They want to go to the next level in their lives. They are thirsty for opportunities. NEP and all these changes to the academic policy is actually enabling the students to accomplish their dreams. And we believe this initiative from IIT Madras is one step in that direction. We hope that there will be more and more such initiatives. We keep an eye out on IIT Madras. Okay, so please see that we will eventually get to having so many such programs where we can create quality engineers and quality scientists who learn from us without having to jump through this hoop of hyper competitive JEE. So the one thing I want to kind of mention is the teaching content is online, but all assessments are in person to ensure that there is the quality which we are looking at. There will be monthly exams which are conducted in centers across the country. We have about 120 centers in which exams are conducted. And so students can actually do courses and earn credits and so on. So there can be a lot more flexibility. So this program also allows for credit transfer from NPTEL and just like in all our BTech programs. So that kind of gives you an overview of what this program is and how this is in line with NEP and so on. And then we will talk about the NPTEL, which is the largest online MOOCs course, the MOOCs platform in India. It is an MOE funded project. IIT Madras leads this initiative. It's actually an effort jointly by different IITs and IISc. So there are currently the curriculum from UGC and AICTE allows up to 40% of credits can be transferred to their degrees. So a lot of students actually do this in these NPTEL courses for credit transfer. So for I hope most of you know about NPTEL. So in case you are not aware, it is the full form is National Program for Technology Enhanced Learning. So what happens here on NPTEL is there are more than 600 courses offered in each semester. Students can enroll, watch videos which are available for them to, for this enrollment and watching videos is free. They don't have to pay anything. Weekly, they submit assignments, and at some point, they can choose to decide whether they want to register for an exam or not. And the exam fee is 1,000 rupees, and there are also waivers based on communities and other financial requirements and so on. So for you pay 1,000 rupee fee for the exam, and there is an in-person exam at exam centers across the country. So there are more than 130, 140 centers in which we conduct exams, and you pass this exam based on the assignment scores and the exam score, you get a certificate from IIT Madras or IIT Kharagpur or IIT Bombay or IIT Delhi, depending on who offered that course. Okay, so this is an NPTEL co-branded with the IIT certificate. So this is a highly valuable certificate because there is in-person exam, there is guarantee for learning, and also there is continuous engagement because the students have to submit assignments every week. So if they don't submit assignments every week, they cannot actually pass the course or get the certificate. So which is very unique for any of the online programs, right? So I mean, most of the online courses, usually the problem which we face is everybody will enroll, right? So I have done that as well. I have gone and enrolled in some course, but first week I will watch, and after that it's okay, something else comes and you don't watch. And you don't watch for 2-3 weeks, then you will have like 70, like some 15 hours of videos to watch. There is no way you're going to catch up on 15 hours of video, you will give up. Right? So that's not possible here because you have to kind of engage regularly. So it is, we ensure that there is continuous engagement. And because of that, there is a lot of interest in credit transfer from these NPTEL programs. So as you can see, these are the numbers from the last year. So there were a total of almost like 7.6 lakh students who have taken the exams from NPTEL, out of which almost more than 5.5 lakh, 5.6 lakh students have actually done a credit transfer for this. A lot of people from working professionals do this for upskilling and reskilling as well. And we have also had a lot of faculty doing it for faculty development programs and for counting towards points and so on. So there is a lot of value in this. And this has actually been adopted by many colleges. So there are actually many colleges which have on their timetable have an NPTEL period. Right? So just like how you have a maths period or physics period, there is a slot which is allotted for NPTEL where students go watch videos and take exams. Right? So this has been a very successful initiative from the ministry, and IIT Madras has been in the forefront running this. So this program has been there for almost 20 years. In another 3 months, we are going to celebrate our 20th anniversary for this program. So this has been one of the great success stories of online learning from IIT Madras. And so while we may not fully understand the magnitude of what 20 years is, I just want to highlight that YouTube is only 16 years old. Okay, so watching videos online was not a concept that existed 20 years back. Okay, so that's how cutting edge and how forward thinking some of the pioneers at IIT Madras were to start something like this. So obviously I was not there when it was started, but I'm really blessed to be a part of this team who have now taken this forward as well. So as you can see, these activities are all things which can easily be tied into various academic programs, and the students can benefit. Right? So whatever they are learning, whatever they are putting their effort towards, if it can count towards the academic credits, how valuable can that be? Will they be more motivated to learn rather than saying that, straitjacketing them, saying that these are the courses you have to do, and you have chosen a BA in sociology without knowing what sociology is. So 90% of the courses you study will be only sociology. No, that's not really healthy. The students have to be given the flexibility to learn what they are passionate about. We should give them the freedom to explore, and all these things, all these frameworks will help in achieving that. So I hope our experiences that we have shared will help you understand why this is valuable and how this can be used in the future as well. So with that, I'll kind of thank all the participants and also the organizers for inviting me to address the audience. And maybe I'll take a couple of questions because Professor Sarit, who's here, will also be part of the panel discussion. He will probably address more questions, but I'll just take a couple of questions to end the session. Please, sir. So there is a multiple entry option as well. So I did not talk too much about it because there is an option to enter at the diploma level and get the diploma certificates alone. That is possible. There is a multiple entry option. There are two entry options. One is at the foundation level and one is at the diploma level. But we recommend that students at least come to the foundation level, because there we build the concepts so that they can be successful at the diploma level and the skills can be built on that. But if somebody believes they already have the foundation level, yes, we do admit students at the diploma level. Yeah. So you can have 40% in each semester. You can have up to 40% in each semester. Yeah, you can't say how one semester is 100% credit transfer. I don't think that is theoretically possible. So that's what I think UGC, IICT guidelines are. Yes, sir, please. Okay. Yeah, thanks for acknowledging it's a difficult question. So IIT Madras is planning to offer BS courses in other domains, but our strengths are primarily in technology and engineering. So we may have most of the programs which will focus towards that, but we do have arts courses and science courses at the master's levels. So we have MA program from the humanities, and we have MSc program, Maths, Physics, and Chemistry, and so on. From an undergraduate level, we do have two courses which are science courses. One is a BSMS in Physics, and we have a BSMS in Biological Sciences. So those are the courses that we do have. Not sure if we will have an undergraduate level arts course. That may not happen in the near future. I'm not very sure. But yeah, but we will definitely be expanding this type of a structure where we have these large scale programs where we admit a lot more students and so on. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. So thanks for this question. So see, for a degree to be offered by an IIT, it has to be approved by the IIT Madras Senate. From IIT Madras, approved by the IIT Madras Senate. And most of when you look at these NPTEL courses, there are various offering institutes, and there is a difference between the processes. So it's not, I don't know if we can offer an IIT Madras degree based on courses from NPTEL, but the ministry is working on a mechanism so that students or learners who have earned credits through this can actually get degrees based on that. So the ministry is working on a mechanism, and at this point, I don't know how exactly that is going to work out, but so some framework for that will eventually come. So I think with that, I'll kind of end. Okay. So, okay, last question, please. Sorry, I could. No, not really. So. Okay. No, I'm not saying you have to accept 40% of the courses. You can do up to 40% of the courses. Not everybody is doing 40%. Usually it is somewhere around 10 to 20%, and we are doing around 10 to 20% for courses. Yes, we are accepting. So not up to 40%, but we are accepting. So these are the IITs which are already accepting courses. And I think IIT Kharagpur also accepts. I think I missed out that. So these are the IITs which are already accepting courses. So it's not that IITs are not accepting courses, but it's just that up to 40% is the guideline. So we generally allow courses for electives. We do allow students to take the courses, and we do allow credit transfer from other institutions when they go for semester exchange or institute exchange programs. So NIT's students come to IIT Madras to do 1 year of courses, and there are credit exchange for that, and there is foreign exchange students also. So there are various types of credit exchange which is happening. And this national credit framework, just like how ECTS has enabled it in the Europe, and NCRF will enable freer transfer of credits across various things.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Vignesh. I think it's been a very informative session in the morning. A lot of new ideas discussed, various possibilities. I think presented to all of us to think about with a lot of detail, a lot of thought process behind all of those possibilities. So we are going to have a break now. We are all more or less on schedule. We'll have a 15-minute tea break, and then we will join for a much more elaborate discussion session. So please join us for tea just outside the room across.
See.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. We'll get started with our panel discussion. I think as we saw right after the presentations, there were many questions in a lot of people's minds. And I think because of the diverse audience we have here, I think perspectives are going to vary. And I think that's the basic purpose of having this gathering, for us to exchange these ideas and thoughts, because something that we may see from a higher education perspective may be quite different when you see it from the school education perspective and so on. So I think it's very healthy to have a good discussion, and we are now going to have a panel discussion process which will enable exactly that. To moderate the panel discussion, we have with us Professor Sarit Satyan. He's a professor in the Department of Applied Mechanics here at IIT Madras. Like with many institutions, we have a special committee to just look over the entire, curriculum, the way we deploy our curriculum for the campus. So he's the chairperson of the timetable committee, which is a very important committee which reports to our Senate. So every semester, the whole layout of the complexity of our deployment is something that he has to handle. His committee has to handle because we have so many aspirations from students. I mean, we are talking of reaching out to audiences in different places, online, in hybrid modes, and so on. But a campus with 10,000 students has its own complexity, and I think we have a lot of learning from there. And so committees like his, I think, directly deal with that on a day-to-day basis, and there's a lot of experience and learning in that. So I now request him to take over moderation of this panel discussion.
Thank you, Professor Pradap. So welcome back. So we had two wonderful presentations in the forenoon session, that is just before the coffee break. So I think all of us have got fairly good amount of idea about what exactly is this framework. And then later my colleague Vignesh talked about our experience of proposing this BS online program to reach out a large number of students. So as always, right, the framework it's a framework, right? So it is while when you try to implement it, right, you have a lot of challenges and a lot of checks and balances. Only then it will be useful, and it will give you the exact results, because our objective is to increase the gross enrollment ratio. And this is a very wonderful idea. I don't know why we never thought about it earlier. Maybe this is the right time to think about it now, because of the digital inversion is so large. It's probably it is easy to implement it also. So in that sense, right now, this is a very wonderful idea. So that now when you look at from a very our societal perspective, right now, it gives a lot of hope to the underprivileged class of our people who otherwise will be really afraid of joining a program for several years. They do not know how to sustain and how to continue the studies. So this is this gives a lot of hope, because they can join for a program and earn credits and then deposit it, and then later, if they are not able to continue the program, they can even come back later. So in that sense, it's very going to be very revolutionary of that nature. In some sense, institutions like IIT Madras, we do have certain aspects already embedded into our framework, though we explicitly mention it, but it has been there, like all this credit transfer and all that. We do recognize credits from other institutions, and whenever our students go abroad, they transfer it, or when they come here, that wherever it is possible, we do that. But this gives a very good platform. So I hope with this panel discussion, with a lot of questions, and we have experts, I will be able to clear most of the what are the points we wanted to know. So I'm really happy to invite the esteemed panel members who are agreed to be participate in this discussion. So let me first welcome Dr. Neena Pahuja, Executive Member, NCVET. Please come and occupy. Thank you, ma'am. Next, I'm happy to welcome Dr. Subarna, Joint Secretary, MSDE. Thank you. So next, Lieutenant Colonel Gurjan Chowdhury, Director, NCVET. Professor Rajiv Kumar, Member Secretary, All India Council for Technical Education. Dr. Shakil Ahmad, Joint Secretary. Thank you. Dr. Vishwajit Saha, Director, Central Board of Secondary Education. Dr. Dinesh Kumar, Dean Research, NCERT. Mr. Vijay Kumar, Director, NIOS. We have also Dr. N.S. Khalsi, is a chairperson of NCVET, joining us online. So welcome to you, sir. So, okay, so before we actually start this panel discussion, let me just start with a opening question to the esteemed panel members. So now we have formulated a framework. So what is the biggest challenge we are going to face? Because we as a country, right, we have n number of universities, n number of school boards, and a lot of, maybe some conflicting pathways and all that. So what is the biggest challenge before us? Because we have to see the result of this program, in maybe in 2 years time or 3 years down the line. So what is going to be the biggest challenge we are going to face while implementing this into a reality? As well as I'm just thinking from a student perspective. Yeah, please.
Actually, during this tea break, I was just discussing this challenge with my colleagues. And while Madam was presenting the very beautifully presented framework, the first question that actually came to my mind is that whenever we are putting a new system into place, however revolutionary or however delayed it might appear to be, but I personally feel, and I'm sure a lot of you will also agree with me, that the mistakes of the past that we have done, that should not be, given any place in the new system. We may commit new mistakes, but the old ones that we have committed, at least those should be well taken care of. And one of the mistakes that I personally felt, because I had the opportunity of working in Human Resource Development Ministry, and that too in school education department, was the weak point, and the weakest point of our education system was the early childhood care and education. The RTE did not include early childhood care and education as a right. It just said that, okay, states should take initiatives to implement it. So this never really took off. And I'm a science student, and I know very well, and there are research studies to prove that the early development years of a child are very critical as far as learning outcomes are concerned. So my real challenge that I feel that this system, new framework would have it before it is to give a basic even level to both the child in a rural area and an urban area to get quality early childhood care, so that nobody starts with a disadvantage in the system. So if that inequity at the very early stage is taken care of, then I can say that yes, we are beginning by not factoring in what we were aware of the inequity. So that is the challenge, first challenge that I see. I'm sure
I would
also
like
have
to answer that question
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Kalsi, please, sir, go ahead.
See, when this entire NCRF was conceived, I had a chance to have a lot of discussions with a lot of groups from varied backgrounds. I discussed this with all the 1100 universities in the country. I discussed it with all the state boards, with all the state technical education boards. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you audible.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You're audible, sir.
Sir, if you can be a little louder, sir.
अब इससे ज्यादा ऊंचा बोलूंगा तो गला खराब हो जाएगा.
You can raise the volume.
Yeah. Can you raise?
If you can.
Now,
raise the volume.
no, I am now nearest to the mic. So I had discussion with all of them. And after a lot of discussions, we evolved this entire framework. The biggest challenge to my mind is to make the implementers of the national credit system aware of how this entire system is going to function. Let's understand that this is a framework. This is not a regulation. This is not an order which can just be implemented without putting down on a piece of paper the operational guidelines by the respective regulators, by the respective institutions, by the respective autonomous bodies. Now, we are all aware that we have implemented such systems through IITs for last 40 to 50 years. And these have been implemented pretty successfully. You know, I am a product of IIT. I went through this process 47 years back and never faced any difficulty. Same thing is here. So that means that along with the understanding of NCRF, we must also understand as to what is required to be done at each level. And therefore, we decided to first take it to all people who are going to operationalize it and who are going to use it. And we are planning 10,000 workshops over a period of next 4 months. December, January, February, March. 10,000 workshops through the universities, through colleges, through schools, through state governments, through other institutions. That is one part. Second part is that each one of these institutions, they have to build capacity to implement this. When I talk about building capacity, that means they have to train their educational administrators to understand the framework and come out with the operational guidelines. And these operational guidelines are going to differ from state to state because education is a state subject. Of course, the overall framework would remain the same. That would remain untouched. But within that framework, enough flexibility has been provided to each one of you to issue the operational guidelines which suits your local requirement. So that is how it is. So UGC will issue detailed operational guidelines. NCBT is already working on it. By this month end, we'll issue operational guidelines. Similarly, AICT is working on that. NCRT is working on that. Dr. Saha is already working on that. So he will share with you. So similarly, the state governments, I've already addressed them. I've already shared with them the details of the framework. And we'll also hold workshops for individual states if they so wish. So we'll do that. Secondly, we should not confuse this entire framework with some other aspects of education, like early childhood education. Yes, that is one of the components of NEP. NCRF is trying to creditize whatever you are teaching. But how well you teach them, or what do you actually, how do you approach this entire teaching methodology, the pedagogy, the implementation of the delivery of education system at the ground level? That is not the purpose of NCRF. It is extremely important, but that is to be done by the other parts. The NCRF is here to creditize whatever learning you do. Hope I am clear on that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. That was very educative, sir, and very well taken, sir. Thank you, sir.
Just for information of everyone, Dr. Kalsi is chairman of NCBT, but also chairman of a committee who actually created NCRF. So he is one of the main authors of NCRF. Just for information of everyone.
Our honorable chairman of NCBT beautifully mentioned. I wish to add one thing, that our board of studies of the department and academic council of the university have to play important role, as our chairman rightly mentioned that capacity building is very, very important. But these two bodies have to play proactive role, and it is a enabling framework. You know that there are a lot of flexibility, as he rightly said that these are not regulations. Okay, so these are but a lot of flexibility is there. So our capacity building as well as board of studies and academic council are very, very important in implementing or adopting whatever you can say this national credit framework.
In fact, Dr. Kalsi has already explained the entire challenges which is to be faced, and he has rightly mentioned that in IITs it is already there for last 47 years. But it is more important that we have to sensitize our general college and university education. And he has already, this question was there in my mind, and he has already answered that there will be more than 10,000 workshops to be conducted with all those stakeholders. And that challenge is most important, and we have to really make all that stakeholder aware about the implementation of the NCRF as far as its awareness is concerned. So thank you.
We can take questions from the audience. Yeah.
Now, questions from audience. Mic. Okay, or we can come here and ask. One mic. Yeah.
Good afternoon to the respected panel members. I'm Dr. Shivashakti, Deputy Director of Institute of Health Professions Education. Basically, I differ here because I have come from a health sciences background, and we are yet to adopt the CBCS model. But my question is actually on the challenges, like from now on, prospectively, we are going to implement this NCRF framework. But what about the students who have already finished their courses, or those who are there in the first year or the second year? Because they are also interested, because if this will affect the future employability of the candidate, because the employers, if they choose candidates who have come from this NCRF framework, because they have a proper opinion on how well they have been assessed and other things, is there any plan for a bridging action, like those who have already completed this in the form of an assessment or something, so that they also can be included in this NCRF? They can also be given some sort of a credits or something.
Why not? My answer is why not?
Thank you, sir.
Now, your question would be how they can be included. And my answer is very plain and simple. Framework allows for that. But how actually is to be implemented is to be decided by each body individually. There's no issue on that. Somebody has already done some credits. Somebody has already done some education. That means he's already completed those credits. But how actually those credits would be awarded is to be decided by his university. Again, the board of the university would sit down and say that, "Achha, jisne ye kar liya, usko itne credits de do." And these are credits, mind you. These are not marks. This has nothing to do with your grades, your marks. This is whether you have achieved these outputs or not. Whether you have achieved these outcomes as the process of learning or not. If you have achieved the outcome, then yes, you can be given credits. and it should be done. And that is the basic purpose. So it's a good question. Thank you for asking that and giving me a chance to clarify. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Vice Chancellor of Technology and Science here. We have implemented NDP from this year onwards with lottery workshop we conducted. And we are also actually giving education to the other institutions as well. I have a few questions, especially on the academic bank of credit. What is the shelf life of this academic bank of credit? If a student actually deposits the credits, how long he can actually be to be there on it? See, for example, a mechanical engineering student, he builds after second year, then he come after 10 years to continue, but the curriculum would have changed much. This is my first question. Second question is basically on the multiple exit. Basically, some clarification is required. When you are looking at the multiple exit, you are looking at the BA program, usually for the BSc program, etc. So you say that after first year, you can give certificate, second year diploma, and so on. What happens in case of 4-year degree program as it is in case of engineering? And third question which I have, suppose I say that I give a diploma certificate after the second year of engineering, will that be equivalent to the graduate outcome of the attitude of 3-year diploma of 10th year? Because most of the 3-year diploma after the 10th year, 10th class, is going to be more of skill oriented, whereas here it is more of knowledge oriented and about 60% skill oriented. So these are my 3 questions. Thank you.
Should I answer 1 or 2 questions, last 2 questions? So you said that student exiting the course after 1 year, and as for this framework, he is being awarded UG certification. And after second year in engineering, he is being awarded diploma, UG diploma. Now, we have to decide the outcomes, learning outcomes when we are giving some certification, what he will do with only this qualification of physics, chemistry, workshop practices. So we have to decide the learning outcomes for certificate after 1 year, and what should be the learning outcomes, what we are expecting, we are giving diploma, UG diploma. So all these things will be decided. We have to provide some skill courses when we are awarding the certificate and diploma to the students, because otherwise what he will do with only the certificates, having no employment opportunities for this certification, all such things. So these things, they will be worked out, and even the institutions, they can work out on their own as per the NSQF guidelines. They can decide the outcomes, and then they can award the degree and diploma. So this is the answer of the questions of how we will award the degree and diploma. Definitely, you have to give some skill components when you are awarding diploma and certificate to the students when they are exiting, right? Similarly, when the student is entering, okay, then you should have a dynamic academic committee who will decide the learning outcome. Suppose he is entering with certain number of credits in your institutions. So what is the equivalency of these credits as per your curriculum or as per the requirement of your institutions? So that equivalency will be done at the institute level or the university level, whatsoever the case may be, but it will be done definitely. So role of the institution, university is very, very important, because every individual case will be different. Every student case who is entering in the system will be different. We have to take very dynamic decisions. So we should have all dynamic bodies to decide the equivalency of the cadets and all such things. And the bridge courses, if you want to provide that students to bring at a certain level, that is to be decided by the committee. So this is all being done at the institute or university.
Sorry to interrupt. I have one clarification. So because we also faced a similar question when we proposed this BS online, as well as now we are going to have electronic system BS program. It was presented in our Senate recently, and now again Senate wanted us to rework So one of the issue that came up during the discussion was as a national level, do we have a clear framework for a 3-year diploma? Because diploma programs as it is considered as skill oriented and skill intensive. So do we have a clear cut guideline at the national level that no, we should have this much percentage of courses directed towards skill development and not just theoretical?
Yes.
Do we have something?
Yes, we have clear guidelines. And these guidelines are pretty simple. That for any UG or PG programs, if 50% of the courses are skill courses of that NCRF level and 50% are from the academics, then you can award a UG or a PG degrees, diploma or certificate. That is one. Secondly, if it is a vocational course, then UGC has already prescribed that up to 60% could be the skill component and 40% could be the academic component. And for extreme cases, special cases of vocational education, the skill component can go as high as 70%. It could be 70-30. But having said that, in case your own university or your own autonomous institution, you want to have your own formula, your own recipe, and you have a reason for that, there is no problem on that. You can always do that.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So I think it is then
the shelf
the
life
whole problem is
about
about
the shelf life,
mapping.
that is for 7 years. That is 7 years, if I remember correctly. No, but that is there.
No, no.
Assessment you can carry out.
You can Bridge, you can identify the gaps in the old curriculum and the new curriculum, and you can provide the bridge courses. So outrightly, you cannot, you are not bound to accept these credits. You can identify the gaps. What are the requirement as per learning requirement as per your institutes, new curriculum?
Basically, the premise is the child is going out due to certain compulsions. And when he is coming back, so fairly good amount of period has to be provided for that. So that premise is there.
देखिए उसका फैसला आप करें कि जब कोई बच्चा किसी कोर्स में आना चाहता है या किसी कोर्स से बाहर जाना चाहता है, तो एनसीआरएफ ने उसको एक दरवाजा प्रोवाइड कर दिया, उसको फ्रेमवर्क ने एक दरवाजा प्रोवाइड कर दिया, भाई दरवाजा है, आप अंदर आ जा सकते हो। लेकिन दरवाजे में जो एक कुंडी लगी है, एक चाबी लगी है, वो कुंडी और चाबी कैसे खोलनी है, कैसे खुलनी है, वो जिस इंस्टीट्यूशन ने एक्सेप्ट करना है या जिस रेगुलेटरी बॉडी ने उसको एक्सेप्ट करना है, वो उसको प्रोवाइड कर सकता है। अगर आप सोचते हैं कि एक बच्चा बाहर से आ रहा है, वो 4 साल के बाद एजुकेशन करके आया है, उसको पुराने क्रेडिट्स मिल गए, लेकिन अगर वो अगले साल मेडिकल एडमिशन लेता है, अभी कोर्स करिकुलम बदल गया है, उसको कुछ 2, 3, 4 क्रेडिट का उसको गैप फुलफिल करना है, तो यू कैन ऑलवेज प्रिस्क्राइब एन एडिशनल एंट्री मॉड्यूल और एडिशनल एग्जिट मॉड्यूल। इसी तरह फर्स्ट ईयर के बाद अगर एक बच्चा बाहर जाता है, तो आपने तो प्लान नहीं किया था बच्चा बाहर जाएगा, तो आपने उसको किसी तरह की कोई एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी स्किल्स नहीं दी, लेकिन बाहर जाएगा, जॉब नहीं मिलेगी, तो आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी का नाम खराब होगा। सो व्हाट यू कैन डू इज यू कैन प्रिस्क्राइब कि ये 10 क्रेडिट का एक एग्जिट मॉड्यूल कर ले, तो इसको यूजी सर्टिफिकेट दे देंगे। एंड दैट 10 क्रेडिट का जो एग्जिट मॉड्यूल कुड बी मॉड्यूल ऑन द एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी स्किल्स which are absolutely required by the market. So you are free to do that. So you have a lot of flexibility in doing that. But you cannot say no to the whole thing. You can have your own conditions. Similarly, somebody wants to enter IIT. He has the prescribed qualification. But for entry into IIT, there is a process prescribed, there is an examination prescribed, there are a number of seats, limitation is there. That will have to be seen by IIT. But that doesn't mean कि अगर एक बंदा एक बच्चा जो है वो एलिजिबल हो गया है, तो उसको आपने एडमिशन देना ही देना। No, he has to go through the process that is there. Thank you.
So just I thought I'll just add something in that. So 7 years.
I am unable to hear you people. जो थोड़ा सा ऊंचा बोलना पड़ेगा आप लोगों को भी।
Yep. So currently the NCRF document says 7 years maturity. there are some courses, you're absolutely right in saying, for example, if you're doing mechanical engineering, the way the engines are made, the auto engines are made, is changing almost every second year or third year, right? Languages in IT are changing almost every year. But there are some courses again in IT, some things like algorithms, or the concept of NP completeness, people who are here from, computer science background. Those courses are there when I did my BTech 41 years back, and they're there still even today, right? So some courses will change, some courses may not change, but I think it's up to us, like Dr. Kalsi said, to be able to define. And I think over the period of time, for every course, you will actually have the definition coming out very clearly. But I think currently we're starting up with 7 years. I hope that answers that question.
That issue, that regulator or the institution has to really upfront define as to how that has to be done. Sir has talked about the entry and exit module. So if that is already there, so if somebody is willing to exit or somebody is coming, so that kind of credit and how to earn that, if it is defined, a child can take an informed decision. So that is important, I consider.
Just let me add one issue. In case of school education, up to grade 12, admission, anybody at any times can come and they can take the admission. Considering the fact they have already completed that portions of the syllabus in other schools of either state board or international board. So considering all those components, admission can be given. So that mobility issue, now it has been restricted some way, that rigidness is visible. Suppose a student from University of Madras in second year, BSc, they cannot take admission in the University of Delhi, despite of the fact that there is a vacant seats available in second year. So this credit framework is actually enabling the university system so that they can take and think for admission. And similarly, many of the private university, for that matter, what we know, student with suppose science background or some other typical subject combination, they completed 10+2. But university needs a typical PCM for engineering or something else for other course. Many of the universities are offering a kind of bridge course, what honorable members has already reflected upon. So mobility issues, if we look into from school to university altogether, without looking into the shelf life of ABC, an independent university as an autonomous body, they can think, rethink, and redefine the credential as per the requirement of the land. Thank you.
I wish to add one thing here. As sir has said that this framework has shown the you can take entry. Actually, we always talk about the academic autonomy. In fact, after this implementation of NASHA, real academic autonomy will get the institution and teachers will be free because teachers are very, very important and you have to take a decision. It is up to you that you decide whether the life should be 7 years or 5 years. It depends upon the wisdom of your academic council or board of studies and teachers. Thank you.
Yeah, interestingly, we do have one mechanism here in IIT. We occasionally look at the enrollment of the courses by our students, and then those courses that are not being offered for several years, we allow that courses to retire. So recently we did a very massive exercise of looking at, because we have more than 10,000 courses in our database. So several courses are not at all offered for the several years from now. So we just allow those courses to retire. So, and also we continuously look at the syllabi and other things. So the same thing can be done by the respective bodies.
NSQF, we have got that NQR, that is National Qualification. We have got 5,600 qualifications are there. Each qualifications comes with a level, that is NSQF. It all comes with a validity based on the time, based on the generally it is 3-year validity. After validity, we revise this qualification as per the technological requirement, also consider the market requirement. So it is being done rigorously in consultation with market, and in consultation with all stakeholders, so that the learner who gains that qualification is benefited and accepted by the market and the ecosystem properly. Thank you.
And yeah, please.
Sir, can I? Sir.
Now, if you have seen the model curriculum, basketing has been done. So these are the core courses pertaining to a particular course. And these are the optional courses or departmental elective or general elective. So you can put all such courses like yoga, music in the general elective. So basketing, percentage by basketing has been done in AICT model curriculum if you are from the engineering background.
Yeah.
Similarly, this basketing has been done in all disciplines areas also. So if basketing has not been done, we have to define the basketing that these are the core courses particular to this discipline, right? So core courses, they are compulsory courses, and rest of the things can be decided at the institute level by the students choosing the course of his choice, if for his own choice.
I got the answer. Another point, kind of continuation of the previous point that was talked about in terms of multiple entry and multiple exit. Exit at the end of 2 years with a diploma, or 3 years with a BSc degree, and 4 years. In fact, IIT Bombay has adopted 3-year BSc degree, and at NIT Trichy also we are adopting 3-year exit with a BSc degree. But I think there is a need for a national level framework to have redistribution of the courses between first year, second year, third year, and fourth year, because 4-year engineering program, primarily first year is a lot of science courses, and exit at the end of 2 years with a diploma does not map with a typical 3-year diploma course that a student would study from a polytechnic. I think there is a need to look at redistributing the courses, kind of take the science courses a little later or something like that. I think that needs to be evolved at a national level is my submission. Thank you.
Okay, we'll see that. But that is, if you see the model curriculum, it is only a model curriculum. Flexibility is there. All flexibility lies with the institutions, with the universities, autonomous institutions. Whatever changes they want to make, they can make. It is not that you have to follow as it is the model curriculum. So most of the institutions, they are enjoying this flexibility. Those who are not enjoying, I will request them, please enjoy the flexibility you have with this curriculum and give advantage to our students.
Just I want to add one more point with sir. Sir was talking about basketing of subjects. NIVAS being an open school system, last academic session itself, we have integrated skill education with general education. We do have academic, we do have vocational education, but now we made class 10 secondary student should take out of 5 mandatory subjects, 1 from vocational education, wherein we allowed the children to select 1 subject out of 15 subjects. We are having 103 courses in vocational through open schooling system, wherein we have indicated home science, ICT, and yoga sciences. So now class 10 student will take 1 out of these 3 out of 15 subjects and 4 normal subjects, so that they will come into class 10 secondary. In class 12, we allowed them to take 1 additional subject, that is 6th subject, as a vocational subject. For them also, we have provided a basket of vocational education. And last only we have started, it is going so well. And we have already integrated vocational education with general education as a board in the country. Thank you.
Yes, two are there. One is related to basketing. So again, I will mention that it is up to the regulator that the basketing of courses and its proportion, whether it is the scholastic area or the co-scholastic area. So that proportion has to be upfront declared, and that has to be decided well in advance, and it should be available as an information to the stakeholder. And number 2, as far as the one question sir has asked about the national level workshop for redistribution of the courses, regarding that, my academic submission would be that the regulator has to really think as to what kind of requirements are there for the purpose of the core science or the theoretical area, as well as the skill and vocational component. So that has to be decided whether the requirement of real academics comes first or the vocation and the skill education comes later on. So that has to be decided. So it is, I think that as far as this framework is concerned, this framework is flexible and it is giving a lot of flexibility and autonomy to the regulatory bodies and the institutions to implement the course, as far as I understand the entire framework.
Yeah, I think I just minor comment on that. So I think what Professor Bhaktavasalam from NIT was talking about is about prerequisites. For example, when we propose curricula for a 4-year degree program in, let us say, in computer science or mechanical engineering, right? So we don't expect generally students to discontinue at the end of 3 years, right? No. So you pack the courses in some way so that you have basic sciences, for example, mathematics. So most of the mathematics courses are required for students in the when they take engineering courses in the 2nd year or 3rd year. For example, partial differential equation, it's a course, or matrix algebra, and all these things are required. So that's why we have this basic science component, right? So 20%, 30% of it. If you tweak there in the beginning, right now, without having any idea whether this student will discontinue after 3 years or he will go for a BTech program or even for a dual degree program, it will be difficult. So that's a very tricky situation. I don't think there is a very single.
Let me give you a solution for it. So I think what we also recommend in such cases, which is actually a problem Bhakta has actually spoken about, there could be also an exit program. So, you've done 3 years, but to be able to reach that level which the others need to have, you may also decide that in case somebody wants to go out, you may have plan an exit program, which may have 1 or 2 courses, which actually brings him to the level of another diploma holder or the similar degree holder. So that's also a possibility. And I think it's again universities who need to define that. It's a prerogative of the university or the regulator. I hope that should.
Yeah. So my whole point was in the current structure of BTech, we don't expect that exit to happen many times. So we need to reconsider, we need to restructure it so that this can be enabled. For example, when we propose this BS online program, this was the first debate, right? Whether the students are getting enough components so that they get a diploma in 3 years and leave. So if you just fit our present BTech program into that, it will never probably may not work, because we have a very rigid structure, because we expect students to complete science and basic science, so that he is expected to do higher level courses. But when you have this flexibility, we need to probably rework the structure.
And he brought in a very actually pertinent actual question.
Yeah.
Problem.
It's a very real question.
Yeah.
This is what NCRF is all about. It is enabling us to do it. What a professor from IIT just mentioned, it was discussed in previous discussions also, and IIT Bhubaneswar directed brought out that since IIT is going up revamping their curricular things presently, and this is the apt time that this framework is getting rolled out. So gives us the opportunity, give the academia the opportunity to revamp there and restructure the course based on providing the flexibility and also the multiple exit and entry, which is one of the most important tenets of this framework.
I think there is a question.
Yeah, one thing which you have been discussing till now about the bridge course, according to NHEQF, it is stated that a PG student who can get a diploma at the end of the first year, provided he does a bridge course. Is there any parameter for the bridge course that you have evolved nationally? Any of the regulator has come out with that? That's my first question. Second one, about the PhD program. Right now we say that a student can jump from level 6 to level 8 for a PhD program. On the other hand, students who are normally doing will have to do a level 7 in order to come to a level 8. Will there be a difference in quality of these students when it comes for academic selection? In the academic institutions, when you select, will you differentiate between these 2 kinds of students who have done your PhD? Even now, UGC is stating that 55% in master's degree is necessary to do a net examination. My third question will be, will this be applicable to the foreign universities who are coming to India also? Thank you.
As far as this, you said now about 6 to level 8, effect.
Okay. Now, this framework, this is now, it has not been, it is a document now. Once it will be accepted, necessary modifications will be done by the respective regulatory authority. So these issues, what you are talking about, they will be handled at that time. So it's a framework. First, we have to understand the framework. My first request that we should study this framework and we should understand the sense of this framework, what the government, what this committee want to give to our students: flexibility, internationalization. So all such things, they are, if you find that this thing is more, some advice or some suggestions they are coming, that it will be more beneficial for our students, that is required at this stage. But as far as implementations are concerned, we have to be proactive, dynamic, and decisions has to be taken at the institute, and the university level. Everything cannot be specified by even by the regulators also. Small things, because I told earlier also, every student will have different type of issues, different type of credit transfer. So we have to be dynamic. We have to take decisions at the institute level, at the university level. If you have the autonomy, so we have to be prepared for that. Main thing is that we have to change our mindset that it can be done and it will be done.
I would like to add to that answer. I would like to add to that answer that this is a time, a lot of autonomy is being given to the institutions, to the universities. So why don't you want to take that autonomy? Why are you asking these questions? Why are you even suggesting that we must do it? Why should we over control? All this has to be done by the university and the autonomous bodies. As now the UGC just explained. So when some power is being given to you, you have to build your capacity to implement that power. But don't worry about the national equivalence of whatever you're doing, because framework will ensure that. The only condition is that whatever you're doing has to be within the four walls of the framework. You cannot deviate from the framework. And as long as you are sticking to the framework and you are having your local flexibility, don't worry about the national or international equivalence or how your decision is going to play out at the national level. Everything will be all right. So my request to you will be to please go through the entire framework, take it very positively. This is the first time we are letting go the powers of the regulators. And we are trusting you people more than we trust anybody else, because you are at the cutting edge of the education delivery. So it is for you guys to decide, you people to decide what is best for your students within the framework, of course. Thank you.
I think sir has correctly put all the agenda together. In fact, it's a matter of interpretations because the recruitment rules, what sir has rightly put through, that is very much there in the IIT systems also, BTech PhD integrated program. And earlier this MS by research program. And so considering all these issues, I think it is a matter of the university or college or state who are actually sitting on the recruitment rule. That interpretations need to be changed with the power of National Credit Framework and also with the power of National Higher Education Qualification Framework, because both are the level equalizer and up to PhD it is level 8. no matter what way you are earning the PhD, after BTech or after BSc.
Yeah,
It is a matter of you have already earned that much of credit, and also you acquire the positions of level 8. So university, while recruiting, or college or public service commissions while recruiting the faculty, they, instead of mentioning that UGC is 55% net qualification, tomorrow RR would be in terms of level mentioned in the new national higher educational qualification framework, and also as guided by the national credit framework. Thank you very much.
Before we go on to the next question, there were some questions on ABC which were asked in the previous session. So we have a gentleman from NEGD here. Just stand for a minute. NEGD is implementing ABC for us. So if you have any questions on ABC, please redirect all the questions to him. He should be able to answer this because NEGD is already in the process of implementing it, ABC. So anything on implementation specifically, I think he'll be able to address. That's why I thought I'll just take a chance of introducing him to you. Maybe you can do that during your lunch break also. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, may I have a doubt clarified from your presentation, ma'am?
Yes.
Yeah, you are actually presenting on the assessment band and the accumulation of credits. And you are mentioning that the accumulation of credits should be done for that particular assessment band. For example, if an undergraduate student is going to pursue something which is not essential for his undergraduate program, but which can be a base for his master's program, can that be considered under the master's, or it will stop at the this thing itself?
Absolutely, it can be. In fact, you can also, so suppose, for example, I give an example of Kathak. Doing a UG program, and I decide to do a Kathak program, which is possibly at a level 3, okay, which is a lower level. So I have that credit which is coming to me. I may use it for something else.
Okay.
Okay, I might decide to do some certification in Kathak tomorrow, for which I might land up doing it. So for every band, whenever you do a particular course, you accumulate credits in that particular band.
But
and
it can be used
when you
Oh.
take a degree in that particular band, that can be redeemed. So that's the process. That doesn't mean, it doesn't bar you from doing credits in any other band also.
Okay.
I was giving you, you've taken example of I gave you example of even a lower band. So it could be higher or lower. You may want to do it. Madhubani painting, I don't know what the band would be really. I don't have a course yet for it. But whatever band it comes on, and I'm a PhD, I have a level 8. I might like to do a course on Madhubani painting, which I don't know what level it could be. I'm sure it's not level 8, right? That doesn't mean that I can't accumulate credits in that. And maybe tomorrow I want to get a degree in arts. I want to get a BA in arts or something in arts. I should be able to get that.
Thank you.
Hope you have got understanding toward what is banned here. Hope you
yes.
have understood.
Yes, sir. Yes, I got it.
This is the dotted line. This is the intermediary of the band. This is a block line this is the band, the intermediate. Now see this is the UG band 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what my doubt also, because if the candidate, what he's pursuing as an additional over and above the credits that are essential for him to redeem the undergraduate degree, which can also become a base. For example, he does something on artificial intelligence and you going to pursue in something in masters related to that, whether crossing that band, that accumulation of credits can be used or not.
See, we also talked about the candidate, candidate 40 to 44.
Yes.
We have given flexibility if you want. If you can manage between that 1200 hours and go beyond 1200 hours, certainly you can.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification.
Is that simply possible? Without having my minimum qualification, can I go for a higher band?
You have to first clear that previous.
Yeah, that's exactly
yes.
it.
Yes, you have to first clear the band.
Without clearing the band, I cannot go for a higher one.
You
From
can.
a higher one, I can come to a lower
You
one.
can accumulate extra subjects in that particular band. Yeah. That is what I am talking.
No, she was asking another question. She was asking from a lower band.
Let me answer that
Let me try
question.
and answer your question. Sorry, if sir wants.
Let me answer that
There are
question.
a large number of courses in BTech. I don't know where are you from. So at least in engineering, I know there are some courses in master levels, and I'm sure in IIT Madras also there will be some courses of that level which are offered at master's level and also at BTech level. Okay, they have, I'm sure all of you have, all the NITs have that course, all the IITs have that course. I personally, when I did my BTech and MTech from IIT, there were courses which are offered both at IIT BTech level and MTech level. But, you know, you define the entry level qualification for that particular course. So when you do that course and you have gone through a formal assessment of that particular course in that particular band, then you get grades for that. And when you, so it can be used for your MTech degree, when you go for MTech degree or for BTech degree based on what kind of assessment you've done. So that's operationalization, which you're most welcome to assign, but you can, as long as every course has an entry level qualification, as long as you meet the course level entry qualification. I hope that answers.
Let me add to that.
I think we have time for one more question.
Sir wants to say something, please.
Let me add to that. Let us not complicate their situation by giving examples from IITs, otherwise they'll get confused. You are absolutely right that without clearing the previous band, you cannot go to the next band. Because for every band, for every qualification which NCVT approves or which any other university or UGC approves, they have some entry qualification, some entry requirements. As long as you are meeting those entry requirements, you can take that course, not a problem. But most of the time, that entry requirement specifies that you have to have cleared the previous band. For example, for a PG course, you should have cleared the UG band. Similarly, for a UG course, you should have cleared 12th class. UGC very clearly specifies that for any UG course, taking admission into any UG course, you have to have a 10+2 certificate. Of course, I can have number of ways in which I can give you either 10+2 certificate or equivalent of 10+2 certificate. For example, if somebody does ITI 2 years after 10th class, he can also get a 12th class certificate. So he'll get a admission in UG as well. So that is for the local boards and local state government to decide what they want to do. Similarly, for the universities, they have to decide as to what entry qualifications they need to prescribe for every course, every qualification, every program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think we can take a very quick question because.
Yeah, my question is to Dr. Sahasa. As far as school education is concerned, what is the road ahead? Because we are talking about, NCRF is talking about, rolling out the system as early as class 5. So could you give us some insight into it?
Yeah. As far as school education, till date, we are going with the marks-based systems. And that's why there are a lot of criticisms everywhere, 90 and above percentage and everything. Now, with the support of National Credit Framework, and that too also, again, taking the energy from the new education policy, we at CBSE are already constituting a committee which can actually look for subject specific overall how this National Credit Framework can be implemented by the school board. So first, this implementation strategy, followed by there would be a deep discussions with the NCERT, because the structured curriculum, with the help of our new curriculum framework for school education, and what would be the structure, that is lecture, tutorial, and practical, whatever our IIT professor has shown. The similar way, it is already there. We have distributed in terms of marks. We also have a distributions of weekly period. So that would be converted into the new structure, which is there very much in the new National Credit Framework. So, and once it would be fit, and then we'll try to implement it in piloting for the class 9th and grade 11. And if there is absolutely no problem, and we can definitely try and test this National Curriculum Framework and giving a credit, especially for the grade 12 and grade 10. And again, new education policy talk about entire secondary in a compact form. And if we look into the table, especially shown by Colonel Gunjans and also Honorable Chairperson has shown, from the early childhood to PhD level, every things are well defined. Now, certain work, NCERT, CBSE, State Board of School Education, SCRT, together we have to come out, especially for K-12 sector, and how basketing and accumulations of credit, and how I was discussing today in between with this NEGD representative, also additional director, how ABC would be implemented for the school, because so far it is for the university and college to register there for ABC. Now, over a period of time, once we are ready, schools are also supposed to register. Then in the academic bank of credit, both for skill, vocational, bagless day, everything can be defined and redefined and implemented. Thank you very much.
I would like to add the question asked. As Dr. Saha has rightly pointed out, in school education, the curriculum will be defined, and as per the National Education Policy 2020, already in the secondary education, there are two issues, which is flexibility as well as the modular approach in the secondary education. So, and the Curriculum Framework Development Committee is aware of this document of National Credit Framework. So that is going to be in line with the recommendations of the National Credit Framework, in which the modular approach is going to address this aspect of the credit values for every course and for every year. So that will be there, and that work is simultaneously going on. And this committee had an interaction with the committee, which is headed by none other than Dr. Kasturi Rangan, who is heading the National Steering Committee for Development of National Curriculum Framework for School Education. So that would be there, what Biswit Sahaji has said.
Okay. Just I want to add one point. As far as NIVAS is concerned, we are already into this 1,200 learning hours. So we provide 240 hours per subject. So 5 subjects a child has to take in open schooling system. So it will achieve 1,200 learning hours, and 30 learning hours we make it as 1 credit, and 40 credit is the total. Apart from this, we have provided a facility which is known as transfer of credit for other board children to come into NIVAS. And specifically, we have provided a big facility for IIT students through a MOU that they can take 1 or 2 subjects in NIVAS, so that they can complete 10th as well as 12th through NIVAS while doing their courses in their institute itself. So this is the way we have provided extreme flexibilities in NIVAS in the interest of learners, and more or less we are in line with NCR. Now, little bit fine tuning, we are doing it in open schooling system. Thank you.
Sir, I have a last some clarification. AICT has introduced CBCS, Choice-Based Credit System 2016. There they have given some mandatory courses with 0 credits. Along with that, they have introduced open elective and professional elective. Open elective subjects are coming under interdisciplinary only. In 2019, they have introduced the AICT model curriculum, and there they have given the basketing, as rightly Professor said. Yeah, but the thing is, now you are coming with interdisciplinary again. In your aim, that model curriculum, we have given minor degree and honors degree in 2019, which was not properly implemented as on date due to various reasons. Last year, I am representing from Stanley College of Engineering for Women from Hyderabad. So I'm Director of Academics and Audit. My name is Dr. Kanakadurga. So we have introduced this because we got the autonomous in 2021. Then we introduced the minor degree. Now there also we had some flexibility in introducing some interdisciplinary course. Now with this framework, are they going to exist all these courses, or do we have any merging of the courses? Along with that, lateral entry students, that is students coming from Polytechnic, they have bridge courses, which is mandatory for them. So when you are talking about bridge course at every stage, will it not be a burden to the student with so many structures and frameworks?
Sorry, I think some of the experts, they have to leave now. So I think, madam, you can interact more with him during lunchtime. Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry.
So let's thank all our esteemed experts for clearing most of the questions and doubts. And also, I thank all the participants for the active question answer session. Let me just invite Professor Pratap for a small function. I request all of you, please wait for a moment. Yeah. So we will direct you to the place where the lunch is arranged. Just wait for a moment.
Okay, so we will also just give you the directions to this lunch location. You are actually here in the Central Lecture Theatre, which is this location down here. And you simply have to go down. So let me just give you the directions. You just have to go down this corridor and you will reach this road, this location. If you just go down this corridor, you'll reach this road, which is perpendicular to this building. So you just continue past on a curved road. It's just a 3-4 minute walk. It'll come to a place called Campus Cafe. It's a general cafe, but we have a separate terrace on top, 3rd floor. There's a lift behind that building. So the side of the building, there's a lift which goes to the 3rd floor. And that's where we have the dinner. It's a special terrace location, covered terrace, air-conditioned place, recently inaugurated. So please join us there. It's just a 3-4 minute walk from here.
National anthem.
I request you all to please wait for the national anthem and then we can close this program. One moment. Please rise and please wait for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मगध द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 जय
So in case there's any confusion, please ask for the canteen or campus cafe, 3rd floor.